Obviously, you can hear that.
Board games, it's what we're talking about in some manner. Board games, I'm not gonna shout. I am starting off this streaming with a little bit of singing. And over there, hopefully they won't spook your eyes. It is the one known as Luke. Luke has reviewed many games, and today we're going to be talking about inspiration and some of those games' names and why Luke does the things that Luke does. Maybe it gives Luke a crazy buzz. We'll talk about board games and media making. It's what we're talking about. Board games and media making. I'm not gonna shout. Hey!
Hey.
Good
Did you
morning.
have that rehearsed?
So like the start of it is pre-written, and it was I think episode 400, no 300. I've not reached 400 yet. It's episode 300. I was hello Xate, and Xate says you can tell in the intro if a guest has never seen this show before.
I've had like snippets or so, but usually I've like gone into like the middle of it or something and started or something, so I haven't caught the intro as much.
That is totally fair, and honestly, there's no obligation. I invited you for this episode 318, which is meeting Luke Hector. I'm streaming every day at 10 a.m. UK time for the next 82 days. And I invited you on because we've chatted in the past, most recently at Aircon. Yeah, was it at Aircon 2020?
Yeah, if you can call that recent.
We actually played in a board game cafe.
Yes, I shared some memories on Facebook of that the other day, actually, because it always tells me what I did a year ago, and those pictures I took in that cafe came up with the cocktails and that. I forget the name of the cafe, though.
I hope they're still open, because they were just opening.
Yeah.
And, like, that must be the worst time to open. So, like, for those who don't know, this is a lovely, lovely convention in Harrogate, and I also saw looking around the smaller places and bigger places, but yeah, then afterwards, the next day we were, okay, everything's shut down. It's Sunday. It's the end of the convention. Let's go to this wee cafe. Now, I think it was myself, Dave Wetherall, Rob, and then yourself. And we played a couple of games. And
it was a decent nice night. I mean, I like the little cafe. It was just nice and quaint. But yeah, I mean, literally like a few days we have to shut down. They just opened. I hope they are still there. The next time Aircon is on, I got to go give them a visit and check they're still around.
Yeah, and talk about bad timing. Anyway, we are going to be talking about early memories. We're going to be talking about how you got into games, how you got into game reviewing, how you got into all these things, and what's your approach to stuff. I mean, you say you tell it like it is. Some people might call you a bit grumpy, but we'll get into that down the line. And let's now start off talking about recent highlights, living life and seeing the sights, recent highlights, playing games and other delights, recent highlights. So, what have been some of your recent highlights? I have played 3 different games in the past day, 2 of them digitally, I will admit. One of them was Draftosaurus. I played it a couple of times without reading the rules, and I was like, okay, I need to read the rules now. And then I read rules, and then I played it a couple of more times, managed to get my new Board Game Arena win. Yay! And then I played Martian Dice, which I think that's just way too much luck for me. I had the worst luck. For my first 4 turns, there was literally no way for me to get any points. I'm not exaggerating. There was literally no way. For the first time, so for those who don't know Martian Dice, each time you have to set aside the tanks who are attacking you. You can, if you want, set aside the alien guns because you are the Martians and these counteract the tanks. And you can, one time during the round, set aside your cows, your chickens, or your humans, and you're trying to get those animals to actually score points. First round, Okay, that's quite a few tanks. Sets aside my death rays. Okay, that sets aside my death rays. Sets aside my death rays. Still too many tanks, even though I had only just set to third round. I got maybe 5 tanks and 8 death rays. So the only thing I could do was click the death rays and get 0 points. And then it took another.
But did you enjoy yourself? I'm guessing not.
I'm still going to play until I win, just because I'm addicted to getting those 5, that little achievement to say you won this game. But once I've actually beaten it, I can't see myself ever playing it again. Whereas Draftosaurus, yes, I actually see something there that I cannot. Okay, there's a bit of chaos in how the dice rolls and the die rolls, and that tells you where you can put the thing that you've just drafted in. But that's, at least I feel a bit more agency. Martian dice, I just don't feel any sense of agency at all. I'm not going to lie.
I've still not even tried Draftosaurus. I know it's around, but even on Board Game Arena, there's a few on there, like King's Guild and that I need to get tried. I've just heard they went under the radar, so I want to check out these little games. Recent plays, the main one has been Whistle Mountain, because I did the review for a couple of days ago, and it's probably the most high buzzed I've ever been on a review for a good, at least since Lost Ruins of Arnak or something. It was just buzzing about it all the way through, and that pleased Scott and Luke, the 2 designers, because they were obviously checking it out on Twitter. But by the end of it, people are asking me in the comments also, what did you have in your coffee?
Well, because you were buzzing this much from the energy of the game.
If I'm doing a review and it's a positive one, then I sometimes get a little bit carried away with the emotion side of it. But of course, that works the opposite way around as well. So if I really hate the game, suddenly that's going to carry into the review as well, where it sort of goes I'm showing no mercy. This game will be destroyed.
So it's the ones that you're like, I like it or I dislike it, rather than I love it and I hate it. It's the extreme emotions which will get you carried through the review.
Yeah, if anything, I'd rather it got me extreme one way or the other, though. That's the thing, because if it's just a meh game, then that almost feels boring, because it's kind of what's good and bad about it? It's this is good, this is bad, but it's just meh. I forget it. I've forgotten it when I've already found it. But if it's something that I really loved or really hated, it sticks with me. It resonates.
Yeah, that's what intense emotions are kind of what you're aspiring to as a game designer. And a quick hello, Alex. It's really nice to see you. And as a game designer, I would definitely rather have something that a few people are in love with and then want, honestly, even from a commercial point of view, not let alone from a fulfillment point of view. If some people are in love with it, they're going to share it with their friends, they're going to spread the word. Whereas that's all right. And maybe you play it again, maybe you don't. But hey, even if the audience isn't me, look, I'm not a fan of dice. I'm not a fan of zombie dice. I'm probably not a fan of Martian dice. I'll be able to tell. I can pretty much see it. Look, don't get me wrong. I could pretty much see it when I read the rules that it wasn't my kind of game. It's just, okay, here's a short game. I've got 10 minutes to go until we all sit down, and I'm living with the family just now. And okay, 6 o'clock, get down, we watch The Simpsons, and then we start playing. And speaking of family time, we also played a few games of Bidabel, which is a game by Alex and Xate for the L deck, where you're putting different things together. And it's really nice to see my parents, who have just been playing 2 games, literally Rummy and Backgammon, for goodness knows how long. And maybe once a year, I'll try to introduce them to one new game. But because I've been here now for January, February, 3 months, I've I've got an L deck. I've tried to introduce them to a few games. I've introduced them to My City, which is itself a legacy game.
Yeah.
And that's kind of blown their minds quite a lot. I showed them cooperative games that I bought, and they were like, whoa, this great, you can cooperate in boards games? No, we're not having that. So we need to compete.
That sounds like my dad, actually.
So your dad just will not cooperate.
Well, it's not his style, but I give my brother credit, because I've had to show my family games throughout the last few years. Okay, this is different from what we played in the 80s. And they've latched on to quite a few. Dad's a massive Jaipur and Ticket to Ride fan. Mum really likes the Splendor and Sushi Go Party that I brought home. But my brother tried to not supplant me, but he tried to sort of go, yeah, I can do this as well. That I'll get a game that Mum would really like, and and he bought Pandemic for her, and that normally would have been great because she was a staff nurse. She's retired now, but she was a nurse. So it's like, okay, yep, I know Pandemic. It's good. You've bought it. I'll let you get away with it. It didn't go down as well though because like Mum not so much, but Dad especially, like, they're not co-op fans, or at least they didn't like the idea of cooperating. They wanted the competitiveness against each other, and it's like, you tried, bro. I'll give you credit, but sadly, it's not to be.
It's really interesting I guess, you need to have that self-reflection of what you like about things. I mean, it's not just board games, of course. It's like, what do you like about drinks? What do you like about food? What do you like about this other activity that you do? And if you know what you are liking, then probably are going to have more chance of, when you seek something new, happening across something that you do actually enjoy. And of course, you know what? If what really tickles your fancy is just playing something that you've played 100 times before, well, if everyone at the table's enjoying it, who am I to say that that's wrong or bad? I mean, as a gamer, I would prefer to maybe play 3-4 new games a day, something like that. But
well, I wish I could do that every day, but
I mean, I wish I could do that every day. I mean,
I'd do 3 or 4 games period every day. That would be nice.
If I could, designing things, I mean, don't get me wrong, that's part of the joy of designing things, is that, like, hey, we played this game. Hey, you know what? That wasn't very good. Let's play a very similar game with, like, 2 roll stats are different. And it kind of taps into a little bit of that wanting to try new things.
Yeah, but I mean, they want to try new things because they haven't seen any of these games. But I've got to be very careful about what I show them. Like, I really want to show my dad Wingspan. He's a massive bird lover. We've got him binoculars and everything. He knows everything about birds. I just don't know if he'll get the game. But I have promised him that for Easter this year, when I go home for my birthday and that, it's like, all right, I'll bring Wingspan home. Base game only. I'm going to show you Wingspan. Don't blame me if it like blows your mind or something, because I just don't know how he's going to deal with all those abilities on the cards. But I'm just going to walk them through it and take it slow and just accept that this is a learning game, because I just think I've waited far too long not showing him a game that theme-wise is purpose made for him.
Fingers crossed it works well, because, I mean, don't get me wrong, I think that Hargrave has done something really great there, and kudos to Hargrave for using the voice for good.
Well, even if he doesn't like the game, it's not too fussed, because I'm not expecting him to go mad for it because of like whether it's a bit too complex to him. But I just hope he'll simply just pick up the deck of cards and read all the bird stuff on it. That'll interest him enough. I could probably just buy him the deck of cards, and that'd be perfectly happy for him.
Yeah, like sometimes just seeing these beautiful things. You mentioned, and there's a lot of chats going on where Xates is just addicted to the crew, just playing it hundreds of times, and playing it mostly on Board Game Arena, and yeah, maybe out. And Robert says, hello, Robert. I think I'm still the only person who hasn't played Wingspan. None of my friends have a copy. Look, as a gamer, I'm going to say it's a good game. Don't get me wrong. As a gamer, I think that it's perfectly nice. It's not going to blow your mind. There's nothing crazy new in it, but it's a perfectly serviceable game. And I mean, it's a solid game. I don't want to...
I'll boost it more. It's an amazing game.
Do you really think that?
I think it's great. I have a lot of fun with it. I mean, is it the most original game in the world? No, it's a tableau builder. We've seen these before 100 times, like an engine builder, tableau builder. But it's more just how pleasant the game is. This is a theme that's never been done before, but it appeals to... I mean, unless you have a pathological hatred of birds, you should at least think the theme is pleasant. There's no reason you should think otherwise. And so, it's worth a try. Yes, maybe it won't blow your mind. Maybe you'll think, oh, this is nice, but maybe I don't get the top 10 of their board games ever type vibe for it, which is fine. It's not my top 10 game. I think it's still probably in the top 50, but it is just one of those pleasant games. It's a shame that you can't try it out for yourself, but I mean, if you have got Steam, I think or Android, Apple, I think there is an app for it. I'm not sure if it's on Steam on the PC, but it's definitely on Android and iOS.
It is definitely on Steam.
Yeah, maybe just try that out, because it's a very good app.
What you're saying about it, pretty much what my friends have said about it. I'm never that bothered about theme and always care more about mechanics, as you know. I do think I should play it at least once, as it's so well known.
The
And
mechanics of
Alex,
defining it, yeah.
terrible pun. I heard it's been flying off the shelf.
Oh.
Yeah. I am going to say, in all honesty,
I taught a bird bad pun.
I have appreciated birds more since playing Wingspan. It has affected me. I have just walked around and heard all this bird song and be like, yeah, that's actually lovely. Seeing all the things coming up, and not every game has to be about big novelty and
so that's actually within arm's reach.
Make you bigger. Yeah, there you go. Even Xates, who got rid of it, enjoyed the cards and learned quite a bit.
Why didn't they get a bigger box, though? Can't store it all in one box.
I think that it's done a really good job of evolution and refining all those wee bits. And even though, as you say, look, I'm not going to say it's brand spanking new or it's going to set your worlds on fire. There's nothing in there that we're like, whoa, they did that. But it's just really nice. It's really gentle. Yeah, it's a really pleasant experience. That's what I can give it. Do you want to mention Whistle Bouncing? Because you mentioned that this has been your first 10 out of 10 for a while.
Well, I've been on for a while. I mean, since Lost Ruins of Arnak was also a 10. It's just Whistle Mountain I only reviewed 2 days ago and it got a 10. But I mean, 10s are rare from me in a sense. Although if you look at my top 100, I think when you get to probably my top 30, 40 upwards, they're all 10s effectively in order to get that high. But with a 10, it doesn't mean the game's flawless. That's what some people seem to think. You know, it's like, oh, it's 10 out of 10, but you mentioned these bad things. It's like, well, yeah, because there's no such thing as a perfect game. There's going to be a flaw. My favorite game for like years, most of the time, has been that, you know, Sentinels in the Multiverse. I'm not going to turn around and say that's got no flaws in it whatsoever. I mean, if you don't like the art, you don't like the art. And it is a complex, you know, quite fiddly bookkeeping game to get your head round. I've gotten past that stage after playing it lots. But I will accept that, yeah, I love this game. I will play it any time, but it's not the flawless masterpiece that a 10 out of 10 sort of goes. And even Whistle Mountain, yeah, I do think I give it a 10 out of 10, but it's not perfect in itself. I just think it's whatever flaws it has are such little nitpicks, or they don't bother me enough to say, nah, I can't say that this one is just like one of my favorite Euros.
I mean, I think this is a really interesting thing about what does 10 out of 10 even mean? Because I remember Edge magazine, I think it had like 10 out of 10 is, I think, groundbreaking or something. They had some sorts of thing, and
yeah, I mean,
yeah, it became a really big thing that's okay, Edge magazine doesn't give 10 out of 10s lightly. It might be one every few years. And there was a point where it would be like, yeah, if a game has ever gotten 10 out of 10 in Edge magazine, and if you're into video games, because obviously deviating a little bit into the electronic side, then you owe it to yourself to, hey, sure, Mario 64 might not be the best thing ever, but it was, at least for the time, like, whoa, this was incredible. How many leaps and bounds it had made, and
well, still sucked 20, 30 hours out of my life. I'm sure it did. So
it's brilliant. I think it's phenomenal, even now.
Well, it was the 3D Mario at the time, which you didn't have. I mean, you mentioned Edge. Go to the flip side, something like IGN or so, who gives a 10 out of 10, even if the game's broken. It was still... Yeah, there's obviously some people that will do it, but ratings are annoying. The only reason... I do a rating, but it's mostly on request. If I had a choice, I probably wouldn't even bother with a rating. I just put the two seals I've got, the endorsement and the distinction one, because I had to explain before. That's like, right, endorsement's kind of 7 or 8, and distinction's kind of 9 or 10. And I've got similar to BGG.
I mean, endorsements means that, hey, if you are interested, then you won't be too disappointed by it. I think it's a good game.
Yeah, it's kind of like, I think this game is good. I think the game is good. It's not breaking records, but I think it's got a lot of good stuff about it. I will happily play it. It could be in the collection, not guaranteed. But, you know, this is something I say I recommend you give it a try. 9 and 10 is like, all right, that's going in the collection, and I think it's great, you know, for whatever reason. But I'll have something like BGG where it's like, okay, 7 is good, 8 is great, 9 is excellent, 10 is that. With I mean, if I could not give a number rating, it'd be fine. But if I'm ever saying something's a 10 out of 10, like I say, I'm not saying it's perfect, but I'm saying that if it's like for that genre, for that theme, maybe for that mechanic, this will be a benchmark game. I'm going to think, right, I mean, Whistle Mountain, for example, I kept saying in the review that replay value was the benchmark now. If I want a Euro game that's going to give me a lot of different game every single time I play it, Whistle Mountain's now up there on a benchmark level to say, right, when I get a new game, and I think replay value, I'll think, well, Whistle Mountain achieved this. What does this achieve? And it does sometimes mean that, not jaded, but you can get a little bit, like, we're a little bit more harsh, like a bit more tough love on new games that come out. And probably, because I'd say I favor more Cult of the Old versus Cult of the New, I guess. But it's just, we've got these games that have already come out. They're already really great. A lot of stuff on my shelf is probably a good few years old. Just because something's new doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to say, well, bye-bye Mansions, we don't need that anymore, I've got something better. It's like, well, no, if that's still amazing, then why do I need... If something is coming out deliberately saying we're the next best Mansions of Madness, then you better prove to me you're the next best Mansions of Madness.
Yeah, 100%. And yeah, if you want to take something on, I mean, I do keep saying that... Sorry to bring up my own game. Yeah, I need a counter for that. When I first released In a Bind, now known as Yogi, I said this is the best party game of Physical Constraints because it has loads of things. Oh, I meant to say, by the way, hello, Bodhi. It is lovely to have you with us. Thanks for joining us. And
I love that avatar picture. What's that of?
Yeah, that's Bodhi's own art. So Bodhi actually sent me this lovely choose your own adventure kind of thing. I'll give you a sneak preview of one of the pages.
Oh, that'd be good, like little artwork for a little kids game or something like that. I could see this being like a multi characters and stuff.
It's a goblin mask. Okay.
Are there any happy goblins?
I mean, there's one page where it's pretty happy, where it's thinking about its mum. Where's that page? Oh, there we go. You see that little glub glub thinking about its mother. There we go.
Again, that looks sad. It's like we did a happy goblin. Which I can't tell if it's smiling or not, but
okay.
Good little characters though. I like what was it? I just read it down. It went back up. Oh yeah. Robert said, "I just got 3 ratings. Seek out to play. Will play if others suggest, and never play again." That's actually not a bad system because that's built into the ratings I do. So a 6 maybe like I'm not going to seek this out. I mean, I did a whole video explaining these before, like how I rank games, and a 6, like for example, would be I'll play the game fine and I'll enjoy it, but it's not going to be in a collection. I'm not going to ask for it every week, but if it comes up, I'll be like, cool. And then when you go higher up, a 7 might have in a collection. I'll bring it out every now and again, but I wouldn't repeat play it. 8, I'll try and bring it most weeks. 9, I would happily have it in my game bag every time I go to the club and want to play it as often as possible. And 10 would be it's always in the bag and I'll play it straight away if somebody says yes, can we play it again? That rating works. It's probably a bit more realistic these days.
I mean, I like what Xate says, where there's games where you will play anytime, anywhere, and somewhere, okay, I'll seek to play it, but I've got to be in the mood, because Xate says, yeah, wake me up at 3 a.m. and ask me to play the Scythe or the Crew. Well, I'm in. But
well, I don't know. Wake me up at 3 a.m. I'm not sure about that in general, but regardless of the game,
I don't know if this is literally true. I mean, I'm quite tempted to put it to the test one day.
Those are two very different games to decide I want to play at 3 a.m. There's this 90-minute Euro hybrid versus the 5-minute repeatable trick-taking game. And interesting to put those two on similar levels of, like, obviously you like them both. Two very different titles. But the bit that came before it, what was the... where he said, yeah, we'll play anytime, anywhere, and we'll seek to play when I'm in the mood. That links to what Rob had said before, and that kind of makes sense, because as much as you can argue that with some like 10 out of 10 games or like the favorites that, I love these and I would love to play them as often as possible. But then you got to be realistic and think, well, let's say I've yet to play it. I want to play it. War of the Ring, the big epic 2-player thing. I want to play that badly. And at some point, I'm probably just going to buy the game and just wait for lockdown to end and then get it to the table and try it. But even if I love the game to bits, considering how long and like involved that game is, I think even I'd have to say, yeah, it's a 10 out of 10 game, but if I'm in the mood to play this 3-4 hour epic game, then I'm going to play it. It's not like I'm going to say, right, well, I've just finished work, I've barely got enough time to eat, but fine, let's play this 4-hour game.
Everything is contextual, and I can't think of a game where I would literally always want to play it. Because let's be honest, some games are a little bit more, okay, gentle. There's not so much to think about or keep me engaged. But some games, certainly those things that I'm playing with the family, it's like, yeah, I'll play this because, and of course it comes down to the people you're playing with, because it's something that we can chat about other things during the game and you are comfortable with it, and okay, let's do that. No, not even LDEC games. Like, I don't think that there's a single game that I would, yes, 100%, wake me up any time of night and I'll play it. Honestly, like, wake me up any time of night, I'll probably want to get back to sleep myself.
I wouldn't have the physical endurance to play your, Yogi game at 3 a.m. It's not happening. And even then, and like the word games in your deck, I was like, I wouldn't have the mental capacity at 3 a.m. to play those. Even when I play you when I'm fully awake, I don't have the mental capacity to play half the time, because you beat me more often than not when we've tested it. So
it's like, some of them, like Wibble or Grabble, it's so much energy. You've got to really be awake, as you say. You can't just be like, oh, I'm feeling a bit chill, but we'll do something. It's like, okay, in that environment, maybe we would do, I don't know, The Crew, okay, or... Actually, you know what? I could imagine if I was genuinely on a few beers and with people around the table, I could imagine playing something like Zombie Dice or Martian Dice. But at that point, it's not really about the game anymore. It's about, okay, an excuse to hang out. But yeah,
you could do that with most games, I think, with drink, although I would have limits. I mean, you try and put a Splotter game in front of me, that would have to be a lot of drink. So I'm not even sure there's a limit where I would pass and go, yeah, you know what, let's play it. It's like, no, I can't think of one.
Oh, this is not so good. Let's move on swiftly from that, and let's encourage everyone to ask their questionably quick questions. So if you have any questionably quick questions for either of us, especially for Luke Hector, who's only here for today, because I mean, I'm here every day, so who cares about me? Then
they've asked everything.
There's a lot that it's gone pretty strange, and I think that you're going to be the brunt of. What's the sound of your favorite color?
Sound?
Yes, the sound of your favorite color.
How does green sound? Sounds nice and wistful. I don't know. It's nature.
Okay. So, where exactly are you, and what time is it?
Same number as yours. I would have thought. That's 10. Was it 10:30 at this time, UK time?
So you're somewhere in the middle. In England somewhere.
Right down the bottom. Essentially, South Coast.
Now, what's your favourite convention?
Or
you can pick 2 or 3 or 4.
I was going to forget that every single one. Nah, I got a bit, because each convention will be different for a different reason. I mean, the 3 main ones that I know and get a good kick out of would be UK Games Expo, Essen, and Aircon. Those would be the 3 main ones, but they're for slightly different reasons. UK Games Expo is kind of like a hybrid show. Trade, bit of gaming, the odd tournament thing that I might want to do, but I see a lot of British folk that I don't see often. Essen is I just need to go shopping. I need to go shopping and find a new hotness, come back with a suitcase full of games in the car boot, and drink some German beer, eat some German food, just treat it as a little holiday. But that's like, that will drain me after the week. And Aircon's probably one of the more better conventions in the UK in terms of I just want to go somewhere and play games. Whatever, there's a bit of trade there, but the main thing, I'm just there to sit down on table and play games with as many different folk I've never met as possible. The only downside is having to drive all the way to Harrogate.
Is
He
it
needs to move it
further
down
than
south.
Birmingham?
Oh, miles further. Birmingham's the Midlands. Birmingham I can get to in 2.5 to 3 hours or so. The NEC centre way. Harrogate's a good 5 hour drive. It's up in Leeds. It's up past Leeds. Bear in mind, I'm like close to Portsmouth. I'm on the very bottom of the coast. So I've got to go through the entire country to get to Harrogate. All through the M1 roadworks and everything like that. So that is the one floor of aircon. It's like, I think, I can't wait. Harrogate's a nice place. Convention's nice and that, but I got to drive for 5 hours. But I did drive to Essen.
John.
I did drive to Essen, and that took longer.
So I'm going to allow all these getting a lot of weirdness. You kind of said, "Oh, I bet there's a lot of weird stuff." I feel like you slightly brought this on yourself. So, hello, Bones John again. What is the strangest thing you bought?
What, in terms of gaming or in general?
I think we mean in general.
Over that. I don't know. I find myself to be quite minimalistic. There's not a huge amount of strange stuff. I mean, the strangest things I can think of, like in the 2 rooms in my current facility. One of them is when I went to Essen, I was helping out in the Dice Tower booth, and I did buy one of their. It's in the other room, so I can't quite get it now. But it was like one of their dice pandas that they had. They had the little fluffy pandas, and I spent most of the time helping out in their booth, saying hi to people. But
I thought at first you meant it was like a dice tower, but shaped like a panda.
No, you know that they've turned their they had a period where they've got like dice shaped like animals as part of their logos.
Okay.
I can grab it if you're desperate, but I mean, it's like when they had like a tiger one. If you look on their current stuff on their top 10s, they got like a dog one as well. So you can tell it's a die, but it's got the animal features and that. And they had one for a panda. And I know I grabbed one of them because I spent most of the convention stroking it like I was a James Bond villain. So I thought like, I'm buying one of these. That would go. The wall opposite me has got a random canvas print of 1960s Daleks on it because I think I came across a canvas shop that was closing down and selling all their stock stupidly cheap, and I bought a few for around the house, but one of them was for some reason old 1960s Daleks or so, and I thought, yep, that's for the game room. So people come round and they see like some board game related stuff on the wall, but they also wonder why there's a Dalek pick on there, and it's like, because I'm a Doctor Who fan. What is it? Can't think of much else that's overly strange, but
okay, so I'm going to ask Sate 2-part question, which is firstly, if you were digitally sent £100 right now, but you have to spend this money by the time you finish the next sentence you speak, so you have to spend this money before you say your next sentence. So right now, what would you buy?
More of the Ring. I've already said I'd be tempted to do it. But...
Same question, but it's 100 million.
A new studio.
So like an expensive place.
Oh yeah, I mean, I've always heard that if I win the lottery, the first thing I'm doing is quitting my day job, buying a new like house and moving into it. But I'm making certain that house has a purpose-built, American-sized mammoth room, purpose-built not just for gaming but for the channel, like taking it to the next level.
So the most expensive lighting, the most expensive. I mean, 100 million is a lot to spend before your next sentence.
True, but
I mean, you can
need a lot
for a wee bit.
No, you need cameras, you need stuff. And then I'd give a lot. And then I'd donate a lot of the rest of it to board game cafes. I always thought I'd do that as well. Just say how many board game cafes have got in the UK? X amount, right? They're all getting this much each. That would help them out of lockdown.
That would actually probably get a lot of them through the thing. I mean, there's probably not that many more than a couple of hundred, and so yeah, 500,000. Well,
yeah, but. Well, get a million or £2 and split it between all 200 of them or something. You'd have quite a bunch. Find another 50 that are wanting to start up and just need a little bit of like Kickstarter fund. There you go, boom. 100 million. change the board gaming world with 100 million.
Wow.
I don't need it all.
What is the weirdest thing you've ever done or taken in public transportation?
Odd questions. Done and taken. What are you implying?
Like, I don't know. Maybe you've taken your pets on public transport. Do you have any pets?
I don't.
Have you ever had any pets?
I used to have a dog back in the family dog, but I mean, I would love to have a cat now. But I'm just when lockdown notwithstanding, if I was living my normal life, I wouldn't be in the house as often as I am at the moment. And so I'd be, even with a cat, I know they're self-sufficient, but at some point the cat wants attention. And if I'm not there, I swear it will go mad. So a cat is like first thing I want. You know, I don't want kids, I want pets. So cat would be the first thing. But taking the transportation, I can't think of anything strange. I don't even like using public transportation for the most part. I hate trains, you know, not just in gaming, but also like in general. I'm just not a train fan. So I don't take the bus. I'd much prefer to drive. Taxis rip you off. So the only thing that I know that I use public transport wise is usually a plane. And I can't think of anything weird I've taken on a plane apart from one of those like neck pillows. You know,
I brought back my special thing from Nuremberg that you might have seen at Aircon 2019. My special balloon machine, if you know what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah, you got that from there, did you?
Yeah, I got it from Nuremberg. It was like my €500 whimsy budget. Well, my whimsy budget for 2020 was about 500 quid. And, you know, it was like, yeah, this probably isn't going to pay for itself, but hey, it's fun.
Yeah, entertain the kids. It was fine.
Okay, if you were an animal for a day, normally the question is a pigeon or a shark, but you can be literally anything you want to be. You can be whatever you want to be. Sometimes some people say, okay, if I was in the place where I am, well, I need to not be a water-dwelling animal, but let's assume that you also get teleported just at the initial part and the ending part. So it's like you have an extended dream, like an out-of-body experience for a day.
Out of body, and I can go somewhere other than here. So that'd be fine. Probably like an eagle or something like that. It'd have to be something with flight. The bears are my favourite animal, and I do love cats, but you're going to tell me I can be an animal for a day and go where I like, then it's like, right, take me to mountaintops, take me to Canada or something, or, you know, where... I'm not a massive expert on animals, wherever eagles roam, but give me a bird of flight of some description, and I just spend the whole day flying around.
Nice. You're not tempted at all by the depths of the ocean?
Not as much, no. I mean, you wouldn't be able to see as much down there. Also, the ocean, deep ocean kind of scares me a bit, though, because the stuff you see on the surface is fine. You know, going into the water is fine, not a problem. But you know those programs or those games where they show like deep ocean, like Mariana's Trench and stuff like that? The stuff down there is just freaky. Yeah, it looks positively alien. And I don't know if anybody else gets this, but I don't know if there's a fear for it or a phobia, but like, let's say you're walking. No. Let's say you're on the beach, right? You go in the water, and you can see what you're standing on. You can see the sand in that, and then let's say it's one of those places where it then dips and gets stupidly deep. You know, you go deep into the water. Eventually, it's not going to be shallow anymore, right? But there's not enough light to see what's underneath you, and that unknown actually freaks me out a bit. Or so, and that would just be the problem with deep ocean. It would just be blackness. You wouldn't be able to see anything around you, and at any moment, something could just come out. I mean, that's why sharks are scary to people, because it's, you know, sharks are fine. They just do what they got to do. But if one comes out of nowhere in your face, it will freak you out. And it's that sort of fear of the unknown when it comes to the deep ocean. I'm not sure I'd want to be a fish swimming around in it. Plus, you can't really do much as a fish.
Apparently, it's thalassophobia, which is fear of the deep.
I wonder if that is it. Thalassophobia. Well, come up on Google. A fear of the ocean or a specific phobia that can negatively affect your quality of life. Well, it's not really affect my quality of life, but... And it's not... I mean, is it technically it's not like I fear the water. Oh, wait. Fear of being in deep bodies of water. Fear of the vast emptiness of the sea. Oh, yeah. So actually, that kind of makes sense. You know, I don't fear fish. I don't fear the water in general. But yeah, if you put me in the deep ocean with nothing... You put me in one of those diving cages, you know, that they put them underneath or something. I'd probably be freaked out with that. Couldn't see a thing.
I would just be loving it and thinking, oh my God, I'm getting to see all these things that I never would normally get to see.
Yeah. Well, you won't see anything. It will be too, like I say, vast emptiness. That's the problem with it. I mean, if you put me down like in the coral reef, say, Australia, coral reef, bright as can be, you can see everything around, that'd be fine. But most of the ocean isn't like that. And certainly no British Sea is anything like that, put it that way.
There's apparently a great Phasalophobia subreddit, really unsettling. So maybe you don't want to go there. Maybe you would actually be pretty freaked out by all the photos there.
I was going to say, yeah, well, of all the topics to put on Reddit, but I'll probably watch it. It'll be like, it will have a bunch of photos with it, and like just, I mean, just seeing a photo of deep ocean is not going to freak me out. It's been there, is the thing.
Okay, I'm going to close the questions in the next minute, but I'll get to the ones we've already had. Firstly, if you could make one body part cyborg, which body parts would you want to be a robot's arm, or a robot's tongue, or a robot's eyeball? I don't know what you're going to do.
I can't read that without sniggering though, because that instantly reminds me of the Futurama thing with Hermes, when he gets like, being a human sucks, and he keeps turning himself piece by piece into a cyborg, and it's like, Hermes, some parts were not meant to be Cylon. It's like, oh, other than that,
you're such a big,
what?
You're such a big kid.
Yeah, that's the only way I get through. I watch a lot of shows, but they probably just an arm, just like do a Bucky and a Winter Soldier type thing, right arm, strong arm, super strength.
Would it be like extendable? What are you thinking? Would you be thinking weapons, or would you be thinking retrieval, or like extra manipulation, extra like 2D Ghost in the Shell thing where you can type really quickly just with one hand?
So I've not actually watched that, but Winter Soldier versus Inspector Gadget
come out of your fingers, and then you can type about 100 words per minute.
I think it'd be more like a utility there. I mean, the cyborg arm would be naturally strong. I don't need to have weapons built into it, although if you can fit a gun in it, fine. Or some like knife blade, they always do that in animes and that. But I think it'd be more like a utility thing. Like it's super strong, but then it's basically a Swiss Army knife of whatever. Not quite as cheesy as Inspector Gadget, but.
Bodhi asks, is there a game you enjoy which isn't generally well received?
That's a good one. Yeah, because there's always a lot of underrated ones, and you can be on your own with that. I mean, I'm looking over there. Automania is one that comes to mind immediately. That's a good little car making game, but that didn't get a lot of buzz when it came out, and still probably doesn't. Edge of Darkness is another one down there, like the big, complex, like kind of sequel to Mystic Vale that John Declare did, or something. They only did it on Kickstarter. People would have thought this is a bit much for me, but I absolutely love the game. New Angeles wasn't desperately well received. It's not one of Fantasy Flight's bigger sellers, but that's that Netrunner universe like negotiation game I'd find to be one of my favorite negotiation games. So there's quite a few that I can think of that they weren't as popular as others. It's usually the other way around there. It'll be more a game I don't enjoy that is generally the most popular thing since sliced bread. That's usually the way it goes.
Yeah, but like those aren't as positive to talk about, are they? I mean, it's very.
No, we'll keep it positive for you, Bez.
No, okay, so yeah, there you go. Like you are the kind of grumpy young person, like the grumpy kid.
I do both sides. I'm a man of balance. That's why I see it. It's like I can talk about the positive, but also the negative, but treat both of them as lighthearted.
I mean, the thing is, like someone in what was it, like the reviewers and media group was saying, "Oh, are you actually an influencer?" And I was saying, well, in terms of who do I make my content for, like it is with the audience in mind rather than the people who made the game. But at the same time, I do keep the people who made the game in my mind. You can't help but do it because they are humans too. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. I'm not going to take glee in saying, look, this is terrible. And sure, there was that one game In Order to Win where I said, look, there's this DVD box and it's in this stupidly large cardboard box, and I'm literally just going to tear it up and recycle it because there's no point.
I'd be laughing at that though. But the thing is, I know you're being honest about it. That's the thing, is I don't like it when the thing is, if you are designing anything or if you're building anything, if you say like, right, this is something I've made, I'm putting it out there, you have to accept, you've got to put your big boy pants on that, this is going to be something that not everybody's going to like. And people are going to react positively and negatively to it. If you can't deal with that, you shouldn't have made it in the first place, because you can't like, I can't. If I designed a game, I would expect it to probably be rubbish. I'm not a board game designer. I don't think I'd manage it, but I wouldn't put it out there sort of going, right, everybody's going to love it, and if somebody hates it, they're wrong, and some people will tear it up. But the two important things is, yeah, you do have to consider the person who made it, and not like, if you're attacking the project, that's fine. Just don't attack the person who made it. That's fine.
100%.
Exactly. But also you've got to give your reasons why. You can't just say I hate it.
Acknowledge that there is some good in anything. Like, even if I absolutely hate a game, I do try to do this. And
I don't know. I struggle with Food Chain
comes in and says, "Have I come in just as Luke's talking about stuff he doesn't like?" Great timing.
we were. Hey, come on. We were positive for the last I think for the last half hour we've been pretty positive. We've only just got onto that now.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, like, look at My City. This is a game that I genuinely like, but there's a lot in there where hey, wait a minute. This part of chapter 4, in my mind, is kind of problematic. Yeah, the notion of a legacy game, like, is kind of problematic from an ecological point of view. I just want to flag that up. The fact that it doesn't have anything akin to a story, the fact that it doesn't, there's some chapters where it's like, okay, particularly episode 9, okay, that changes quite a bit about the game. And at that point, it would have been nice if the game said, oh, by the way, if you're really enjoying this, why not take a break and just play episode 9 a few times? Because there's nothing in that game that's like, oh my God, there's a story, it's burning, I've got to play on. But now that we've gone to episode 24, we can never play that episode again, which is kind of sad. And if it kind of advised you to take your time with it and enjoy it, that would be quite nice. But at the same time, I do really like a lot about it. And I think that's the thing. When I was on Newgrounds, I wrote over 1,000 what I would call reviews, and I went through this kind of soul-searching, what is a review to my mind? What is the minimum review that I will be comfortable me putting up? Because it's not like YouTube comments where you can do multiple. You can literally only do one review ever. And for me, my minimum requirement for a review was some sort of summary. So it was an indication of what it was and what I thought of it. At least one positive, even if I absolutely despised it. And sometimes it was like, you know what? The fact that you used Comic Sans, it kind of made me smile. I was really searching. Sometimes, lots of these animations done by literally anyone, okay. But one negative thing, no matter how much you like it, because you have to, as you say, couch it in this kind of balance. And accept that there is good and bad in everything. As you say, nothing is perfect. There is a 10 out of 10, but 10 out of 10 does not mean perfection.
0 out of 10 doesn't mean it's, there is no redeeming feature of it. But an individual is going to have their own subjective reasons for why they don't like something. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're saying objectively this is like not even worth the design. Like, the designer should have simply like taken 2 years off, gone on holiday, and not bothered making this game. It's just the fact that this one person just didn't work with them and they didn't like it. But then what every designer needs to obviously know is that if somebody comes on and says, oh, I didn't like your game because of X, Y, and Z, as long as they give reasons, that's the thing. It's X, Y, and Z, I didn't like this game at all. The next person who comes on is probably going to say, I absolutely adore this game because of X, Y, and Z. There's always, and as they say, 10%, 30%, 100% of people will not like what you make, so aim to please the ones who do. And don't get too burned out about the ones who don't.
Yeah, and in terms of, let's not get into what's a good review right now, but let's get back to let's try and go rapid fire.
The weird little questions.
If you had to name your elbow, what would you call it?
Jeff.
I would call mine, no, I don't know. Would you rather have a meeple-sized duck or a duck-sized meeple? Tiny little duck squawking away that you have to take care of, but it's pretty cute potentially, or just a giant meeple.
No, duck-sized meeple.
You don't want a responsibility.
I don't know if I'd be able to look after a duck.
That is fair enough. What did you want to be when you grew up? Like, when you were a child, did you have some sort of aspirations? Like, I want to be an astronaut, or I want to be a church.
I did not want to be an accountant, put it that way. So job security is good and it pays well. That is basically the sole reason for being an accountant. But it was the only thing I was good at. I was good with numbers. I wasn't good with other stuff. I mean, I was putting up more with child bullying and stuff like that back when I was young. So aspirations weren't the first and foremost. But I could probably think that some like kind of musician, I think, was possibly on my mind, because I used to play the keyboard back when I was younger and was pretty good at music. So maybe there was a point where I was thinking, yeah, well, I could take this to the next level. Never did. I concentrated on other things, but that was probably the one thing. Nowadays, if it's kind of like, right, if I can go back and say, right, you've now experienced life for as much as it's worth, and then now you can say, right, I'm going back to young and saying, look, you're going to work hard and you're going to do this when you're older, and that's not board game related. I mean, musician probably would have been one. But I also thought I would like to be a kind of like one of those like universal translators, in the sense, like one of those people who can just speak multiple languages, because then you just get to visit all sorts of places and intermingle with all sorts of different cultures, and that'd be great. But then the other thing is, because I'm a bit of a cider and wine lover or something, I just like wine, for example. I'd be like a viticulturalist or something, because so I spend my entire life just basically drinking wine and going to like hot countries and vineyards. You know what? Where's the problem with that?
That is...
I'd take that. I don't care about being an astronaut.
I'm going to ask you a wee bit about music later on. And the final, before we move on, hello, Legends. It is lovely to see you. And apparently, at least one person there says you make great YouTube videos. There you go.
As I say, you try to please the people who like it, not everybody else who hates it.
So let's talk about
Jeff would be with a J, I think. Somebody asked, okay. How do I spell Jeff?
Brilliant thing. What's a little thing which is brilliant? Before the show started, we were talking about collaborations. I mean, getting in with other people to do top 10s. I mean, this is us having a wee bit of a chat about you. And it is kind of an interview. In some ways, it's a lot of banter, let's be honest. It's a lot more tangents than a more focused interview might be. And I do inject myself. But doing something with someone else, whether it's, I mean, we could expand it to collaboration in game design or collaboration in work, but specifically collaboration in top 10 style stuff, which is what you do. Why do you want to have other people be part of it?
A couple of big reasons. The first one is that one thing that I know my channel suffers from, and this is just the thing when it comes to popular channels, is that the main popular channels out there have multiple people on them. I grew up it's like a few years ago, but started off with gaming, watching the Dice Tower. That's what got me into knowing about board game media. There was 3 of them, Tom, Z, and Sam, and I always like watching the 3 of them banter. Other shows that I like watching, small creators, big creators, are usually the ones with multiple people on them, because you get the back and forth. And rather than forced humor that's just thrown in to make a cringy joke, it's more, no, this is just naturally funny because these guys are arguing with each other. And so I know that my channel suffers from that because it's just me. There's nobody else to co-host. The podcast is just me. The videos are just me. So I can't bounce off anyone. So the collaboration, one part of it was like, well, if I can't put a co-host on the show, I'll just invite loads of people on it. And I could only do it now because, like you using StreamYard here, I now know how to use the software. I can actually do this live streaming and say, yeah, cool. Bunch of little creators I've never met before. Come on the show. We'll do a top 10 list or a discussion or something, and let's just have a bit of fun. And they are popular because now there's 2 of us back and forth with each other, and maybe I can get more people in the future. The second reason was also the whole hashtag support small creators is stretching time. What is that? I was checking if it was a specific time for it. Oh, you're muted.
Every 37 minutes, it kind of pops up to remind me to do a wee bit of a stretch.
Yeah, usually I have to do that with my neck. Usually I'm all right with like the rest of the body, but usually the neck needs a bit of a stretch. I'll go out for a jog later. That'll stretch enough.
But yeah, so if someone wants to get in contact and be part of your show, who are you specifically looking for on your show? Like, Right now, I would not be able to do it because I don't even have games around me. But, you know, when I'm back down in London, if I wanted to come on, like, what's the prerequisites?
It's not much of a prerequisite. I mean, most of the time I've gone out and sought. Some people have asked me, do you want to do anything? In fact, the one I've got tomorrow with a little chap called Mackenzie, or was it Franklin McKenzie from Side Game LLC. Most people have no idea what on earth that is. And in terms of YouTube, it's like 60 subscribers. It's more what he does outside of YouTube that interested me. But he came to me, and occasionally it's like, okay, cool, let's do it. Other times I've sort of thought, right, well, what creators have I watched that are small that I would actually like to give a bit more exposure to? And it's like, great, let's do it. So I've already done, like, you know, One Pit Wonder and Board Game Perspective, Board Gaming Ramblings and stuff. You know, people that I've gotten well with, have watched their stuff and gone, this is good, but why no more views? Why no more subs? And a lot of the whole hashtag support small creators part is that it's not that I'm getting sick of like big creators, but I'm a little bit concerned that every time, and it kind of gets me when I see it on Facebook and that, they always say like, oh, what's your favorite creator? And it's the same 5 people that turn up all the time. It's always like, oh, I love these few, these few, these few. And it's the same stuff repeated. And on Twitter, you'll just see nothing but those creators broadcasted in your subconscious. So you can never, Jonah from One Pit. But I sort of thought, look, for crying out loud, you know, everyone's saying that this particular big creator does like the best videos out there. But then I'm thinking, yeah, but this person does playthroughs and they're just as good. This person reviews and they're just as passionate about games. Just because they don't have a 4K camera and enough time to be on Twitter every 5 seconds, it's, you know, why don't they get a bit of love as well? And I know firsthand what that's like, because I don't class myself as big. I'm just a small creator as well. You know, don't get that many views in that. So I've been doing this for years, whereas some of the trending channels who are supported by the big creators literally come on 30 seconds later, 20,000 subs and everybody knows who they are. So I know what it's like to be kind of swept aside and forgotten. And I feel bad for a lot of these other creators who also, I feel like, are getting swept aside. So it's like, well, if no one else is going to support them, I will. So I get to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. I get to have people on the channel to talk to, which is more fun. But I also get to say on those shows, right, you know, I've got Board Game Perspective on here. You know, what did I have last week? Mark Dainty, I had him from Not Board Gaming, you know, solo gaming. So it's like I get to say, well, we're chatting about this. Hope you enjoy the topic. By the way, this is Mark. He's from this channel. Go check him out, you know. And that's always good. And I mean, I've got Side Game tomorrow. We're doing the top 10. I've got Hexy Beast, John Williams next week. We're doing, I think we're just talking about things we like in solo modes. Another person who's asked me to do something after Easter, the Nerd Shelves, I was going to do something with after Easter. Something like, and another thing is that it also gets me to do topics I've not done before. Because sometimes I'll give a list and say, look, this is what I'm interested in. Do you want to tackle one of these? The Nerd Shelves, I actually asked them, well, what do you want to talk about? And Jonah was the same thing. I asked, like, what do you want to talk about, Jonah? And she said the games that put you on the edge of your seat. Nerd Shelves want us to do something about a top 5 list of games that needed a second play. So the ones where it's like, at first you thought this is a bit naff, but then the second time you played it, it clicked, and then you started liking it.
That's
it's
an
like,
interesting topic.
Yeah, I hadn't thought of the topic.
And it doesn't come from you. It's like because 2 minds are better than 1. Because you've got that rapport, you've got someone else throwing something in, and then you take it and then you run with it, and together you make it reality, and you have the bouncing off and the talking and the difference of opinions and the possibly shouting, possibly not shouting. I mean, you do sometimes shout on your show.
Well, I hope that they shout back. I mean, Board Gaming Ramblings and we're good friends, but we will shout
at any animosity. It's all friendly shouting.
Yeah, I mean, Board Gaming Ramblings and I shout at each other lots because we're good mates, but there's a lot of games we do like and there's a lot of games we differ on, but we're not afraid to sort of say it to each other, which is brilliant. But I welcome all the other guests that come on, and before we start, I say, like, look, there's no format here. I'm literally going to handle all the tech. You just be yourself, and I'm obviously going to comment on what you say, but if I say a game you don't like... if I say a game you don't like or you think it shouldn't be on my list, you tell me. You tell me and you tear me apart for it. You know, I want you to take charge. And it helps. It keeps things a bit natural.
Yeah, and we've got shouts out to your shelf videos. We've got saying Steamworks. That's a game that you play once and you don't think it's good, but you play it a second time and then you enjoy it.
Whistle Stop's probably a good example of that. I played it the first time about a couple of years ago and thought, this is okay, but maybe I need to try it again because I feel there's some potential. Now it's on my shelf. So, these things do pop up. And yeah, the Shelf by Shelf video was a good series. I mean, sometimes that's the thing. I do a lot of variety content on the show, and it can be a bit downing sometimes to sort of look at the views. They don't come back as high, and it's just like, what am I doing wrong? Why does nobody want to watch this stuff? And a lot of the time, it's just because there's so much out there, only so many people can.
I mean,
but then
why smaller creators can't all be supported, because there is a finite amount of energy that people have, a finite number of views, and I'm not going to say that. I'm not saying that bigger creators are always the best, or that most popular pop song is the best song out there, but it has to have some level of competence. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, for sure, within the thing, you are part of the Dice Tower network. There's a reason why, Tom and everyone have, made a name for themselves, because they are consistent. You kind of know what you're getting. And just shut up and sit. There's all these people. There's a reason why they are big names. And look, I'm not going to... Like the new person who does 1 minute board games. Let me actually find
Sarah Shah?
No. 1 minute games.
There's so many of them out there now that do something in less than a minute. I forget. I know Sarah, and I know there
was actually one person that I found who's just doing it in 30 seconds now. It's like, oh no, that's...
It's kind of ridiculous. I mean, I get it. People have already got so much energy and they want to watch quick videos on there. But I mean, from my personal perspective, I need time spent on it. I don't learn anything about a game in 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, or anything that I can't learn from simply going to Board Game Geek and reading the blurb, because I can do that in 10 seconds if I want to. But I need someone to spend 15 minutes really detailing about the game, explaining what they like and don't like about it, and so I can go, well, he doesn't like that, but she likes that, I quite like this, so go with it, and that gives me the information. So as much as I get why those channels are out there, I just don't personally get anything from them. I mean, I've joked that April Fool's Day is coming up, and so it's always good to do some silly little video for April Fool's. An idea in my head is that I'm just going to basically do one that says, all right, fine. If people want the shortest video ever, then fine. And I'm going to just basically try and do a review in 10 seconds. So, with intro and outro effects and everything. So it's basically all sped up like it's the Micro Machines advert or something. And it's just like, fine, here's your short video, 10-second memory.
And was it just like, it's spooky, or it's brilliant?
It'll probably be brilliant or something, but it'll have the intro sped up, 6 seconds. I talk about oh, it's amazing, go get it, buy it now, just throwing it in your face.
You know what I would quite like to say? See, it's just like you have a pan over the board game, and then you just say it's all right, no matter what. So the intonation of the way you say it's all right, kind of, that's your review. So you say, it's all right, or you say it's all right.
Yeah. Well, it could start off really flashy, but then the last second of the video is just actually going, it's fine, and then end or fin. Just in the back screen with the Inception bwam or something, just to make it work. Looking at the comments there, Board Game Ramblings, couple's really good fun to watch, and that quote, I don't even know where that started. The "Remember, it's just a game" quote. I try to think what made me think of it first. Some of it, I think, comes from childhood, and the rest of it comes from responding to the whole thing of, it's you speak your mind about the games, you're not afraid to hold back on it, and it's but then remember, it's just a game, we're not here to attack each other. But some of it also, I think, comes from childhood, because I do remember growing up being your atypical sore loser child. I enjoyed games with the family, but I'd kick up a fuss just like any 5-year-old or something when I lost a game. But I remember doing that a lot, and then eventually obviously grew up, and now losing doesn't bother me at all anymore, and I'm just why did I act like a sore loser as a kid? It's just a game, and I think the quote just started from there.
And Sate mentions just enjoying the live streamed content a lot more, because I guess you write something and then the person responds back like we're doing now, and so it's hey, sometimes it's not just that. If I wanted to know about the game in a quicker way, frankly, I do believe that Jay from Free Unit Board Games just does the most bang up job. I just have a lot of respect for, stripping that down, really tightly editing it. And frankly, I have more love for I've got slight kind of I didn't want concerns about Sarah Shah, like, for other reasons, but, like, don't get me wrong, it's fun to watch, like, the whole picky uppy and all that stuff, but when
it's an example. I mean, there are some I know, like, I'm just thinking of channels I know that try to do something in less than 2 minutes, 3 minutes. I mean, I got.
But the one that I linked to 1 Minute Board Games, just because that's a bit more tightly edited, it's like, okay, they can actually pan across the bits here, and they can add a bit more text and stuff. So it's not just, okay, I'm going to do it as a sort of performance art. It's actually done for someone who just wants to watch lots of videos and quickly.
Well, that, and they're on Instagram, which means you are limited to a minute anyway.
Or TikTok.
I mean, I'm barely starting on Instagram, and I'm barely trying to get used to how to do good stuff on it. I mean, I don't do the 1 minute videos things. Yeah, 5-second review. I mean, that's what an April Fool's vid for me would be.
Just try and do. You know what I might try and do before I leave the UK? Try and review everything just as quickly as I can. Bad, good. Like, but that's the thing.
Yeah.
As soon as you start, you lose all the nuance, and you need to, I think, have maybe a couple of minutes. I think that the sweet spot is that sort of 2 minute, maybe 4 minutes, kind of, if you want something really condensed. Yeah,
I would say 5 if you want to get useful information out of it as well. I mean, I can't do a blitz review in less than 10 minutes, and I certainly can't do a detailed review in less than 15 to 20 if I'm going into as much detail as I am. I mean, if I had to try a very short one, I mean, I could probably maybe do 5 minutes, but then, like I say, your intro and outro will take up a good minute of that anyway. So it just depends how much information you want about the game. As I say, I can go to Board Game Geek and read that blurb and get the 30-second information from that blurb,
sure,
but then I need to know how it works.
That's a very curated thing. That blurb might be from the publisher, it might be from anyone else, and I'm just thinking, what's the absolute minimum length that I would be able to stand up and say, yes, this is a review? That, because I did a 1 minute review of Magic the Gathering, and I look back at it, and it's still on YouTube, and I think this is just an abomination, because I spent, an hour and a bit talking about it, and what I did back in the past is I'd spend an hour or whatever reviewing a game, then I'd leave the camera set up, and then quickly do the, okay, this is what I think of it, and I did one, and yeah, it just came that I had a smidgen of what I had in that long video, but trying to pack it all down to 1 minute, it could have been better with actual editing and a bit more of a rehearsed script for sure, but you can only fit so much into that amount of time. Can you really get a couple of things that, okay, this is why the game is good, this is why the game is bad, this is who the game is for? I would like to have that, and also, these are my biases. For example, I believe that I could review something from Braincrack Games or ITB, and that would be a fair thing for me to do, but I would have to say, hey, I have been paid by these people. I have been paid as in a developmental or designer capacity, and frankly, that now is an additional bias that, yeah, if Gigamic gives me a game to review, is anyone going to trust me? Like,
as long as you're upfront about it, people will still hear that kind of thing. And like I say, if your review is not 100% praising the game and it still mentions some flaws, then it's like, okay, there's going to be that element, and maybe it'll be a case of, right, they've given you a game, you don't like it, you simply don't review it if it's one that you've got the bias on from that aspect. I mean, but I get what you mean, because I don't watch previews very often. I mean, I've done the occasional Kickstarter preview on my channel, but I'm very, very picky. Usually it's got to be, I like the publisher in general, or the game I'm really interested in, or that. I mean, I did Eternal Palace recently. That was literally, I think Alley Cat Games came to me, or they offered UK reviewers a chance to have a look at it, and it's kind of like, this looks interesting, I'll give it a try. That's like me being very picky. But I get emails from a lot of people who I've literally never heard of before. They're pretty much starting up their first publishing firm, and they say, we've got a Kickstarter coming, can you look at it? And it's just like, A, I don't have the time, but B, I don't want to do Kickstarter previews because of that bias problem that, you know, you are talking to somebody who will not sugarcoat if he wants to point out flaws in a game. So do you really want me to look at your Kickstarter game, possibly not like it, and then ruin your Kickstarter? No. It's like, don't make me preview it. Do your Kickstarter, fund it, get it onto the shelves. Then I'm happy to look at the game when it's finished and it's all ready and going, and then talk about it because you've already made it then. But I just can't trust a Kickstarter preview. There's loads of big channels in America that do the preview of this, and I just can't trust the word they say because I don't believe any preview video can say a negative thing about a game.
It's interesting because I know one channel, like Bauer's Game Corner, Bauer has actually said, hey, just to let you know, if I get to a game, and they've said this in the past, if I get to a game and I give it a review before the Kickstarter, that means that I actually like it and I'm putting my voice behind it. But if I call it a preview, I just want you to know that if it's the final game, that means that I don't actually like it and I just don't want to talk about the negatives. And that, to Forrest Bauer, is what a preview is, which that's not what most people call a preview, but it's this kind of weird hidden code that only people who've watched Forrest Bauer for long enough to know that understand.
I mean, a preview would just be like, look, all right, you're just going to tell me how the game plays and what the mechanics are. Fine. Again, I could probably read up on this sort of thing, but it's like, fine. If you're just going to tell me that without an opinion, then fine. That's what you've made it to be. But previews and even playthroughs, I struggle to watch playthrough videos for a similar reason. You know, if it's a review, I know that the person hopefully is going to talk good and bad, although you do get some channels who will refuse to say a negative word about anything, in which case I don't watch it. But I'm not saying I want every review to be negative, but I'm saying I need to trust that that reviewer is going to give me the honest truth if they don't like something. But playthroughs I have a problem with because I don't expect... There are some exceptions. Board Gaming Ramblings is one exception. I have seen their playthroughs and actually had them talk, all right, we played this game live, we didn't like it. You know, great, perfect, you were honest about it. But there's some playthrough channels out there where it's like, the fact that you're doing a playthrough means you love this game. And lo and behold, you get to the very end and they say, this is amazing. And it's like, well, then why do I need to watch the playthrough then? Because I know exactly what you're going to say at the end. I need to be unaware of what you're going to say. And I mean, that's a personal nitpick. I know playthroughs have got their place and loads of people love them, which is great.
I mean, it still has some value because if I say, okay, let's say I do what Rado does, and I actually really respect this, where I send, I say, okay, Rado, here's my rules, and Rado says, oh, you know what, Wibble, that doesn't seem like a game that's going to work with two people. And then I say, oh, you know what, I've got this other game for the Eldic couple, and then Rado says, oh, you know what, that does actually look quite good, and Rado reviews it, and then I ended up selling, you know, a bunch more copies the day that came out because, you know, quite a few people watch it, even if it's for a totally unknown game in the big scheme of things. But you kind of watch that, and Rado's a tricky one because Rado aspires to be a let's play. Rado has said that they don't like doing this whole ending thoughts, but even if you know that someone is going to love it, I think that if someone kind of drills down into it, saying, yeah, this is a part where I'm getting excited, you could imagine, that part's not going to excite me, so it's probably not a game for me. Conversely, if someone says, oh, this is the only thing that I don't like about this game is this tiny bit, that's fine. You know, you still get an idea of the nuance of the playthrough, and I think that's an idea of the... by watching someone else engage with something, you kind of maybe project yourself onto them, or, I mean, it might not be the healthiest thing, but I think there is some sort of value.
Yeah. Well, Rado's one of those rare cases where I do sometimes watch some of those playthrough ones, because I do like the, I did read that and snigger a bit, the two-player Care Bear Gamer. I mean, I do watch some of his stuff now and again, actually, because, again, his personality is quite infectious when he's talking about a game, and he does go into the nuances of what's happening while it's playing it. It's not just, I'm sitting here for an hour and a half watching two of you play a game I'd rather be playing with you.
Yeah, and yeah, there is that whole balance. I love what Alex wrote about 5-second reviews, literally just throwing the components at the camera and saying one sentence. This is
Isn't that
rubbish.
what? Isn't that what most 1 minute and less board game reviews are? Though it's like, it's like. I mean, we've already
Look,
like had my stuff on there. It's like here it is, great game, right, bye. You know, that's kind of half of it.
I know you could, but there is genuinely you get an overview. Like I linked to this person who's Settler of the Boards, who has like 12 subscribers. He only just started, and I looked.
Until I saw you put a link there, I actually thought that was somebody going with the whole April Fool's thing or so, because we were talking about 30-second reviews and 5 seconds, and you said sub 1 minute or so. I thought that was him coming up with a new title. I didn't see it was like you had posted it. So no, sub 1 minute.
Let me actually
screen share it?
I'm fairly sure I can. It's a weird one also, what can you share? But I am actually doing this for the purpose of critique. And
I think you can share it fine. Oh, actually, I don't know about Twitch. Yeah, Twitch is unknown to me. So,
but I'm doing it for the purpose of critique. So I think that legally it's fine. Anyway, so Daring Dust Bunnies, that's from my friend Andy Hopwood. And there's a few, same as Dodeca. I'm assuming that it's like unknown people, which is how you get started. But it's, hey, here's the thing. This is how it plays. And this is a ridiculous, 16-second review where it's, but you get an aspect of, I don't know, a pitch. This is roughly what goes on in this game, and I got some vague flavor. It wasn't just, if you just told me, hey, here's Wingspan, this gives you loads of more things, and at least, yes, it might be the same as a Board Game Geek overview, but A, it's got that personality mixed into it, it's got that voice mixed into it, and second, some people just prefer videos to reading, and I think it's a
I've only got 10
thing.
seconds to I've only got 10 seconds of spare time, and they just want to view it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, if that's too long for you, then check out the 30-second review where, yes, I mean, you can't say...
I mean, I would not be able to do that sort of thing, the 5 minute or less, 3 minute or less or so, because I know that I would just want to talk about too much in the game, and that's just not just like sort of like what I look for, but it's also in my mind, I'm like, no, I've got to get this information out, and maybe that's the accountant in me talking, because we've got to be nitpicky and like detailed about everything when we're an accountant. So it kind of, I suppose, rubs off onto the reviews as well, where I say, no, I gotta go into the detail. That's why I've got the detail review specifically. There's like, this is where I've got me detail an acronym, or whatever the word is, acronym criteria to say duration, ease of play, because I know that this is a game I need to really go at it. Bye-bye, Legends. 1:17 a.m. Where? Cool, blimey, where are you where it's 1:17?
Some parts of America, maybe... Yeah, I'm not actually sure. But, yeah, just to talk about that Millennial Manatees review, where it's, okay, you've got to have
Hawaii.
all the things, and then...
Can we come to Hawaii? It's all murky and horrible out here. Can we come to Hawaii?
Settler of the Boards. So Settler of the Boards has picked up these things, got them all arranged, and then it's like, and then at the end, there's still a couple of minutes to say, you know what, the packaging is fun. And I'm like, yeah, you know what, I'm going to step out. If that's the best thing that you can say about it, that the packaging is fun, it's probably not a good game for me. But, with Dodeca, it's like, oh, there's a bit of tension here. Yeah. And basically, let's be honest, because people want to be nice, when you've got such a short review, it is going to tend towards the positive. But if you say, okay, here's a bit of tension, this is the best thing about it, in my opinion, you get a sense of that. And it's like, you know what? Millennial Manatees, I'd never heard of that. And by watching doing the, play all that you've uploaded, I'll watch all your videos in 10 minutes. I'll hear about 20 games, and cool, there's a couple here that I'd never heard of.
Well, a lot of those like really short ones are going to be more overviews rather than reviews anyway. I mean, if they are specifically saying, right, in 30 seconds I'm going to tell you if this game's good or not, then fine, that's what they do. But a lot of the other, like the TikTok stuff, the Instagram stuff, 3-minute board games and stuff like that, those, for example, I look at them more as overviews. It's like, you are telling me in a very short space of time what the game's about. Cool. But you are not telling me if this game is good or bad because of X, Y, and Z in that length of time. And it's just like, okay, right, I'll go to the longer video for that. But if I literally know nothing about this game and I just need an overview, then fine, I'll come to you.
I mean, I do like what Xates is talking about with Game Boy Geek doing a full review and then a fast 2 minutes cuts of the full thing. And I feel like I should... Again, it's like, how much work do you want to do?
Yeah, because I contemplated this for a while as well. Not, I mean, before he was doing it, I was contemplating. It's like, well, if people don't want to watch my 15-minute review, and I'm like, come on, it's 15 minutes, seriously. Just listen to it in audio form. If you don't want to watch the video, just listen to it in the podcast format. But do it on your car journey, easy. But I did contemplate whether I wanted to do like the summary as a separate video to the detailed stuff. A bit like how Rado does it, because he does like the whole detailed playthrough and then does his final thoughts. And now Game Boy Geek does Allegro and then, which I admit is a pretty cool idea as well. But people weren't as like keen. I think when I put the thoughts out, also they weren't like, nah, don't worry about it or anything like that. And it's just like, yeah. And as you say, how much more work do you want? Although it wouldn't be. I mean,
it's weird because the people that you're asking are going to be the people who are already watching. And
yeah, exactly.
Like, I do my review of My City, and it was literally maybe 2 hours 16, something like that. And so it's pretty, but it was maybe 30 minutes without spoilers, and then I spoiled literally everything in the game, because I feel like from a development point of view, which I want to get a bit more analytical than I feel, frankly, even you maybe could, because you're not someone who's spent so many hundreds of hours thinking about how games are made and everything. I'm not having a go at you. I'm going to be thinking about it as a designer, as a developer, from a slightly different vantage point. And I think, when you want to give a sort of critique, I did the same with Pandemic Legacy Season 1, where I said, okay, here's my review. Now, if you don't want any spoilers, I am going to spoil literally everything. And so now for the rest of this, just shut up. Switch off. This is my final thoughts. But now for people who want more detail, but even with that, and like the short 2 minute thing, if I did do something like that, would that be of interest to people? Well, the people who it would be of interest to for, that's kind of having to build up a whole new audience, because the people who are here for me, who are here for this, well, they're already happy with me rambling on for 2 hours.
It's a hard one to do, because it's more like, to bring in another set of subscribers, then you can do it. It wouldn't be necessarily much work, because most of my stuff's done in kind of bits anyway. So it's like, all right, fine, I just put this bit separately, stick an intro and outro on it, and go with it. But one is that now, all right, I've got to upload 2 things every time I do it instead of 1, which it still takes time to upload to YouTube. It's not an instant thing, but there's also. I mean, it works with something like spoilers, like you mentioned. Like, I watch a few movie reviewers like Angry Joe and that on YouTube, and it's like, all right, cool. They do their thoughts, then they say, right, this is the spoiler section. I then turn it off if I haven't watched it yet, but then watch it once I have. That's fine. For a board game, it's not going to be that sort of same. It's like, right, there's my detailed thoughts on Wingspan. Now, turn off if you don't want the final thoughts. It's like, no, it's like, you're going to want the final thoughts. But I would worry that as 2 separate videos, I would notice that everybody watches the summary part and nobody watches the other content. And I'm not sure if I want to see that, because I want people to sort of get the detailed thoughts as well. But if you look on your analytics, it's usually a case that people instantly click to where the timestamp says summary and watch from that point. A lot of people do. Because some people just want to get the final thoughts. They don't want all the detail.
It's a weird one. And let's actually... I know we've kind of gone way off the rails, but... so the brilliant thing was collaboration. Jess did mention
at some point it was, yeah.
Yeah, Jess did mention that Jess wants to potentially collaborate with you, just doing more... things with people. It doesn't actually make stuff. Is it just content creators, or is it people are like, hey, I'm a designer, I'm a publisher, I would like to jump in and do some top 5s with you?
Primarily, it's content creators for now. I mean, if I start running out of people, then yeah, I can expand it a bit. I know one person who would like literally design nothing had just come out, sort of mentioned, "Are you doing that?" And it's like I'm kind of focused more on content creators for the moment, like people that are going out there and talking about board games that they love, but people don't know about. And it's like cool because I know a lot of people that can fit the bill for that, not just UK, but America and worldwide as well. So that's kind of the primary focus for the moment. If I try and expand it too much, I think I'd just get overwhelmed.
For sure. Well, feel free to, for the rest half hour, keep commenting, asking questions, from like, follow, all that good stuff. And just a reminder, what today is all about, ostensibly, is meeting Luke Hector, chatting about life, board game reviews, media, and whatever. To be fair, we have been doing this because we just can't help ourselves. But let me get to the big questions that I typically do ask people, which is, firstly, what's the first ever memory that you have of yourself as a child?
I thought you were going to say as a board gamer. As a child. Favorite memory is not the best one, though. That's the thing. A lot of childhood was putting up with a lot of bullying that I do remember at school and getting through it. I had a lot of good friends that helped me through it. But primary school was kind of like the first few memories I've got, and it was kind of hit and miss. At the end of primary school, it was like, oh, this is good, doing well, made some friends, doing well at maths, that was kind of my shtick. But it didn't start off that way. The first few years of primary school were tricky because I don't know if it had a name, but it was some kind of speech disorder that I had, a language disorder, where from what I've had to sort of get my mum to explain it to me enough, but it was kind of like a language disorder, which meant that I couldn't understand or interpret what people were saying, or particularly body language, and that's still something I suffer from now. People will sort of go, and it's like, didn't you not realize that she was acting a bit like that for, around you? And it's like, what are you talking about? And it's like, because they would have used body language to do it, and I would have just glazed over me because I won't interpret it. But back in primary school, it meant I was getting into tantrums, couldn't sit still in assemblies, had trouble getting into like academic subjects because I wouldn't understand what was being lectured to me by a teacher, and it caused all sort of problems. But I remember teachers like Mrs. Parnell, Mrs. Long, and a few others from my actual primary school, where they sat down, they got me through it, parents helped me as well, and basically I had one-on-one tuition to conquer that disorder. And then by about year 5 and 6, I don't know what the turn point was, but at some point around then, everything just kind of switched on. And yeah, I never 100% got over it, but I got to the point where it's like, Luke's getting high grades in his math subjects, he's doing really well in his lessons. And then when I got to secondary school, that continued on. In fact, I was still on what was technically a special needs register for secondary school, but I didn't know I was. I didn't know until 20 years later, and when my mum said it, it's like, you do realise you were on that? And it's like, since when? It's like, because once you got out of primary school, they still wanted to monitor you were doing okay, but because you went through secondary school without a problem when it came to academics, you basically didn't need to be notified about it. It's like, okay, that's different. But it's kind of weird. I just don't know if it had a name or anything, but that's the sort of the main memory I've got. Just struggling a bit starting school, getting over it with help, and then everything just kind of turning on from that point. The bullying was a side thing. I had to deal with that anyway. That's just natural. You're the fat kid at school who's good at academics, therefore you're going to get bullied. That's just how it works.
So you were a bit... I mean, you're pretty well built today. So that was not the case back then.
Not until college... Anyway, I mean, you say well built. I feel like I'm withering away and weak as anything at the moment because of the lockdown. I mean, where gyms open mid-April, I guarantee you, I'm back to the 3-4 days a week at the gym, like guaranteed. Because at the moment, I just can't get any exercise. But I didn't start going to the gym until about college time, and even then, it was just that now and again. Secondary school, though, I enjoyed sports, I just didn't play them as regularly, and I did cycle to school, but I think I was just used to eating a lot, and I still am. So diet's usually not eating bad stuff, although as a kid I would have done, but these days it's more portion control. But yeah, I do remember being a bit more of a rotund person back then, and I've never been the best looker anyway, and back then it was just as bad. So it was like, oh god, yeah, why don't you just paint a bullseye on me and say bullies come at me, because it was pretty much just asking for it. But then
Wow.
everything kind of, once people grew up come college time, it's like, good. No more bullying now. You just had to get through
Well,
secondary school.
I think it's a familiar story without wanting to paint a lot of stereotypes, but a lot of board gamers do come from this place where they maybe were bullied, they might be a bit more neurodiverse than the general population. And so you mentioned already that you were into music, that you were playing the keyboard. Has that continued at all?
Nah, I mean, come college time, I stopped. I didn't have enough time to... I got to a point where I was bored with what I was playing, because at that time, you couldn't easily get music you wanted to play. So, I'm stuck with books, and the books you could find in the shop were like greatest hits of the 90s and all this rubbish. And it's like, no, this isn't the stuff I want to play. And I could compose a little bit, but not that much, and I didn't have time. So I was kind of like, you know what, it just slowly died out. And, it was a hobby and I enjoyed it, but I never took it to the next level. But I could probably still read music. I mean, I did grades in that. So you hand me a sheet of music, I could probably get used to a keyboard again. It would just take a bit of practice. I must admit, I had to look up that neurodiverse word, because I think that's the first time I've heard that word.
Yeah, I think it's a really good word, kind of thinking, there is this, I think it's mode is the correct word. Like, you've got three types of averages, you've got the median, the mean, and the mode, and it's basically, this is I guess it's the mean, or it's the most prevalent thing, where most people aren't autistics, most people don't have depression, most people don't have this, but like, there's a bunch of, most people actually do have one of these things when you think about it. It's like, most people do have something that makes them a little bit different. And it's just that some of those things are a wee bit more prevalent than others. And it's almost like, how are you diverging from this platonic ideal of a human, which sounds really weird to say, oh, there's the platonic ideal, but that old thing of the platonic ideal horse, and every horse is slightly different. But it's like this imaginary human that doesn't even exist. And hello, Jeroen. It's lovely to see you. So let's get into board games. Do you have memories of playing the old Monopoly, Risk, Cluedo as a child?
Oh, tons of them. I mean, the family and I would still have played things like Monopoly, Hotel, Key to the Kingdom, Escape from Atlantis, a few of the little word games, trivia games. Yeah, there was Hero Quest. My dad had he's still got it, actually. He's got a copy of this old game called Rawhide, I think. I think it's based off a TV show, Rawhide, like a 60s show, 50s show. And it's your bog standard roll and move game. Just roll the dice, move on the track, bad things happen, get cattle, sell it at the end of the game or something. It's like, it's as bare bones of roll and move as you can get, but he always wanted us to play it. It's like, just because, and it just came in this, it's in this tiny little cardboard box with the pieces that's worn out like crazy. The board is worn out like crazy, and he still has it. He still jokes that we should play it at some point, even though it's probably boring as all get out right now. But that's still a good one. But now we played it a lot as kids, and as I say, sore loser back in them day. Thankfully, I grew up. But that's just continued on, because board games were for a period, and then I got into a phase of CCGs, so Star Wars Decipher, Alien Predator, and that. Then Warhammer was a phase, then RPGs was a phase, Magic the Gathering became a phase at university. So I've kind of tried, even World of Warcraft was a phase. There was always these times where I tried something else geeky. And then with the occasional board game, like, biggest memories probably Citadels, because I remember playing that with friends during university time, and I didn't know board games had come into their own at that point. This was early 2000s, I think. So, he's stretching time, is it? Yeah, I just noticed. Over that. Where's his stretching time, is it? There you go. Sort my arms out. In fact, yeah, my shoulders did need a little bit there. But, yeah, it's just sort of developed over time that there's games of some description, whether it's video games, board games, or whatever games, have always been a thing. But then it was only about 7 years back that it was like, right, I want to try board games again. Let's see how things have changed. And then I just got addicted from that point forward. So
it sounds like you were always in love with board games. I mean, Rawhide, I'll have to check this out. I mean, I'm not expecting to play this. I'm just now curious to. But
I wonder. I mean, I mean, you can look at the TV series easily enough. I mean, it was just a thing that. But I wonder. It's got to be on Board Game Geek. Yes, it is on. It is on Board Game Geek. I mean, hang on. This is.
So, firstly,
this is randomly my food.
Quick questions: do you prefer board games over video games?
Yes. Now, I think in the past it probably would have been video games, particularly when I used to play consoles more. I still play the PC now a lot, but it's usually pick up and play games. But yeah, board games have overtaken just because of the social interaction. And it's like, it's a random Instagram picture you've got there. I mean, that one was me. Oh yeah, I made ramen.
Yeah, I just thought we could talk about. Apparently, you had an impromptu gym session back in the. Do you remember those freewheeling days of July 21st, 2019?
I mean, I think I would be at the gym, but I think I was more just like, oh yeah, I like cooking, so I like food, and ramen. It's a simple ramen, but it's just like, all right, here's the paste, here's the sauce, I've made it. All right, some bamboo shoots, some other veg, an egg, some chicken pieces that I've already cooked on the side, and it takes a while to make, and I just shove it all in a bowl with some chopsticks, and I'm just like, you know what, I've earned this. This war of mine, yeah, I've got a Days of the Siege Beyond the Base Game review of that actually coming out in 5 hours. so
Wow.
It's scheduled to come out. Oh yeah, there's Wingspan. So that was trying out against the AI for the first time. So that was a good one. Cooking's good.
I wanted to ask you just about your general passions. I mean, do you believe that you have many other passions other than cooking and board games? And what's harder, and what keeps you invested in everything? Not just other things, but everything in life. What gets you out of bed?
Only so many. I mean, board games is definitely a big thing, but as I say, I already mentioned cooking, so I do like cooking myself. I've only got so many house skills, but cooking is one of them. But then, I like, hiking and exploring out. So, I mean, I'll go out for walks on the hills every now and again. That's the only kind of exercise I can get when I've got time. I like the video game side of things. I like movies, cinema, can you call drink a passion? Like wine and cider, go out to the pub.
Yeah, you can. I mean, Mark Cook made the beer thing in Aircon saying, oh, we're going to have like a special club one evening for knitting and one for cooking and one for drinking.
I mean, I can tell Will Cook for board games is biased because, I mean, games and cooking, well, I've just named his two favourite things, haven't I? But there's only so many. I mean, most of my passions are geeky passions, and I usually put that as the one of many excuses why I'm still single or something. It's just like, most of these are like, oh yeah, I like movies, I like board games, I like video games, but I still like, hiking and cooking. But most people will think, do you like going around museums and art galleries and things like that? Nope. Are you a big sport fan? I like playing sport, I like exercise, but do I care about Premiership football? No. Do I care about after the Olympic stuff? No, not really. It's like I don't watch that stuff. So I sometimes think, okay, maybe I haven't got that many passions other than the geeky stuff. But then I sort of defend myself with, well, yeah, but then when I go onto dating sites and look up profiles of people, when they talk about their interests and their interests are limited to go out with friends, cinema, and drinking, I'm kind of like, okay, maybe I don't have as few passions as I thought. So I seem to be doing better by comparison. 7 wonders. 7 compasses by various means with the help of Armando.
Robert makes a good point that, working from
Get off that.
Nice food.
The buff meeple.
Do you find that you've moved away from board games since lockdown and moved towards more cooking? How do you still have time to play games?
Well, I mean, cooking is more something I do because I have to, but I like cooking. I like eating decent food. I mean, but if anything, I've probably waned away more from cooking because, I get up, I feel lethargic, do work. I got to work remotely, so I'm still doing full-time work sat at my PC. By the time I've stared at my PC for like 7-8 hours, I'm worn out. Then I feel like, do I feel like cooking a big meal? It's like, I'll just stick something in the oven nice and quick, although I've got casserole in mind later on. So the weekend is usually when I can do something proper. Like, here's my recipe. I'm doing a beef and wine like casserole later, and it's like good. I mean, I'm not a Michelin star chef. I just like to cook something a bit better than just chicken wings in the oven or something. I mean, games for lockdown, yeah, I have played less, but I can play a lot more solo games now while I'm in lockdown, and there is still some online methods like Tabletop Simulator and Board Game Arena that have kept me sane. But oh yeah, definitely. Once board game cafes open up again, I guarantee you my club will resume at Dice Portsmouth, and I will be going there as often as I can. I've already had a couple of people I know from the club, who I used to invite round before lockdowns got fixed.
I mean, why are you not calling them friends? Is there something that?
I've only met them I've met them at the club briefly. Like it's more of a case of oh, thanks for coming to the club. By the way, I also run some game nights at my own place. Are you interested? And they've come along for like 1 or 2 sessions. I mean, it's I don't know. There's but all right, friends. But they, once they've already asked when are you going to do more sessions around mine? And it's like, if I had my own way, I'd say they could come round right now. But obviously, not everyone's into that. But as soon as we're allowed to, it's like, yeah, come over. I have games. Please play with me. I need the social interaction. I'm more of an extrovert now than I ever was when I was younger. I need the social contact. I'm the person that when we were at Aircon last year, they were starting to get into. Oh yeah, that's still on my wall. My planner. It's like, how do I have any idea of what I've got to do? So I've got like what games I need to play, what I need to review, what I need to edit, like I've already recorded it, and what I still need to put on YouTube now that it's edited. I was busy at that point.
Term, by the way, friends in the making.
Yeah, that's a good term for it. Yeah, it's like I've only just met them, but they're cool people, and yeah. And like before you know it, they'll be friends. It's just like I might have met them once or twice. Give me a break. But yeah, there's a few on there. That planner is still there. I lost track of where I was a second ago now. Aircon. Yeah, Aircon. We mentioned like last year, before they put the lockdown in effect. They had the restrictions on contact, and I mean, I know you did the weird sort of foot handshake with yeah, exactly, with that, and people were sort of going, oh, we're not even allowed to fist bump or something like that, and it's like just hug me, please. It's like I'm so used to, I don't even like the shake hand thing, because it just feels very formal or kind of odd. I'm like, look, mate, we're all friends here, just hug me. And they said, no, you can't hug anymore. And I felt like an alien concept. It's like, what? I'm not allowed to hug? What kind of world is this?
I have to be honest, I've been thinking a lot about UK Games Expo. And if I were to go, if it's like, I've kind of said that I would like to go because I'd feel more fear of missing out. But one thing I'm concerned about is the getting there and then being like, okay, I've seen all these people. I really want to touch them. I really want to hug them. And that inability to, that might actually hurt me more than just not going there at all. Honestly, if I go to UK Games Expo as a publisher, I'm not expecting to make money. If I go there, it will be with a stand. But I will be treating that as my whimsy budget for the year, as a kind of, look, this is something that I'm doing because I want to do it. And at that point, I have to think what's bringing me the most emotional health and joy.
Yeah, I want to go to UK Games Expo if it's worth it. I mean, it's still a trip and it's still a money sink to go to it, but it's a convention, it's social interaction. I want to go to it. But when they say like, oh, we might have to restrict open gaming a bit, it's like, half of why I go there is the open gaming. It's like, you can take out the bring and buy for all I care, because I mean, I use it every year, but it's a hassle. If you're going to say, right, we can't have bring and buy, I'll survive. Yeah, but I need a little bit of open gaming for the evening, with a pint and some people I've never met. But then obviously I'll be there for the trade show, so there's a good chance I'll be there at the UK Games Expo. But then if other conventions start happening from the summer onwards, but with restrictions, like just the non-trade ones, I'll be there. I mean, I'll probably visit more conventions next year than I ever have in a year, just because of withdrawal symptoms.
I think I was already going to literally every convention that I possibly could. I mean, I had...
You had reasons for that, though.
Like, it was kind of a professional motivation, but it was also because I bloody enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. I mean, Jamie Stegmaier, I'm not saying that I'm Jamie Stegmaier by any means, there's a lot of differences between us if you haven't noticed. For example, I wear a bit more red. That's the only thing that distinguishes us. But in all seriousness, Jamie makes a big thing of not going to conventions. Like in Jamie's book, Crowdfunding, and I flagged Jamie up about this, it says, you should write a blog. And I said to Jamie, you know what? I kind of have issues with you saying that, because you say this like this is the one way to create a Kickstarter following. And maybe someone who's doing that, maybe that's not what they really want to do. Maybe for them it would be better to go to conventions or do something else that also creates a following but isn't that. And then in retrospect, maybe going to conventions wasn't the best thing because it's kind of in-person thing. Maybe what I really should have been doing 5 years ago is starting on Twitch and being like, okay, I'll do a thing once a week and building up some sort of following and talking about what I was doing game design wise. And that might have been a thing, like doing it, I don't know, once a week on a Wednesday evening, because if I'm at a convention, I'll probably be back in Glasgow. I mean, in London. Why do I say Glasgow? Because I'm just here right now.
I was going to say, that's a stretch from London, but...
Yeah, I'll be back in London. Living with my parents for the past 3 months. It's... Anyway.
It's been a long time since I've been in Glasgow, but I really like some of the comments as well. Like, was it
I want to actually flag this up. Robert wants to tell a story about the time on a dating app many years ago where Robert discussed board games with someone.
Discussing board games on dating apps is painful because the first thing they'll say is, oh, like Monopoly. And it's like...
But apparently someone came... Robert said, oh, I'm going to be playing Agricola. They asked to join in, and the housemate said it was okay. Person came over and saw Agricola and said, oh, wow, it's real. And yeah, still unsure what that sort of euphemism was. Like, is there, like, did they think there was something kinky going? Like,
well, I was going to say, well, oh, it's real. I'm trying to sort of fully understand that, but...
yeah, it's just really, really weird.
Most people I chat to on like dating sites, I've got no idea with dating sites. I mean, I met a guy on a dating site last year, and a bio dream date would be playing Terraforming Mars. Okay, I could think of different games I would replace that with, but if they're saying my dream date is just playing a board game that's a modern board game, I'd be like, yeah, great. I mean, I can't imagine... No single girl I have met on a dating site has ever responded to my games with any conception of modern board games except for Ticket to Ride. I think was the best someone had done that they'd done it with their friends. But honestly, some girl like comes to me on a dating site and says like, oh yeah, my dream date is sitting down and playing like X game by my head or something like that. Then I'll be like, okay, don't lose this one. It's like, because that never happens.
Rob says, I'm planning on going to UK Games Expo if it does happen and suck up whatever restrictions. It probably won't be the same, but it's better than nothing.
Sorry, I just read McCook for Board Game's last quote. It's like, so unrelatedly, what dating site are you signed up on?
This is not the
Facebook dating, Tinder... was on Plenty of Fish, probably not anymore. There's no good dating sites anymore. That's the problem. They're all bad. Probably Facebook Day is probably the main one I've looked at now, but even then, it's just they don't work. So UK is a day trip. Yeah, I mean it's a several day thing. If I do UK Games Expo, but I want to go.
Sorry, just. Agricola, the sexiest of all the board games. You want to know about farming. Farming those sexy. To be fair, some vegetables do get a bit phallic.
Spuds and vegetables, yeah. I can see the link. Sheep, it's...
Oh man, this is so bad.
Oh come on,
I think that deserves the pun of the day.
Agrippa her. Oh, God. I read that first. I was like, "What? Oh."
Someone remember it's exclamation mark A, but give Descent Games 100 points for that. That was True, if I talk about games, we went down that road.
Yeah, it's the stigma with it because we are a niche hobby no matter how much it's grown, and so people don't know what it's about. And so yeah, people have to sort of go monopoly in that. But like yesterday, I was on a team chat with people at work because I set up a weekly thing for us to just unwind on a Friday afternoon from work. I mean, it's going well so far. But I like took the camera off and showed them the games in the other room, and then showed them a photo of this one. But then when they asked the questions like, "So what are these?" or how's this different? I'm like, I can't explain modern board games to you because clearly you have not played a board game in your life, and you're already in your mind you're thinking Monopoly. It's like you're thinking the stigma with that, and the only way I can describe modern board gaming is just think of what you played as a kid, but add more choices. That's kind of what modern board games are now. Facebook data, it's not a major thing. It's just it's on the app or something. You get like there's a heart symbol that appears, and if you go on it, I think it just loads up that heart symbol or something, and I think it just it's basically another type of, you might as well just call it Facebook Tinder, to be perfectly honest, but at least it doesn't require me to pay for it. But I used to be on dating sites. I used to be on Plenty of Fish, OkCupid, and Match.com quite a bit, but then all of them just started charging the ends of the earth. They were just rinsing and repeating fake profiles, and in Portsmouth there's not a lot of people on dating sites, period, so you kind of met everybody.
I did pay for OkCupid about a year ago when lockdown started, and I met...
Nothing came of it.
I met one person. We had a couple of nice dates, and like in the end it was kind of, you know what, I don't want to get involved with you heading off within like a year. I don't want to do that. I was like, okay, that's fair enough, but we're kind of still passing messages back and forth occasionally. There's one person who's a real introvert, so I'm not sure it's going to work out. But we're kind of chatting occasionally on the phone or on video. And one person, we were going to meet up for a walk when it was allowed, but then that was a all too brief window. And it was a really weird one because
there's not enough people down my area on the sites anymore. That's the thing. For years and years, I think everybody who's on it has now, like, I've already bypassed or I've chatted to or something like that, and now it would just be like the same 6 people appear all the time. Do I fancy visiting Jeremy Harper Rob? Well, I've already visited it for purposes of Essen, although I must admit I wouldn't say no to visiting. I wouldn't say no to visiting
Germany for dating.
To be fair, I have met a lot of very nice German girls in the past, also. So it's I like Germany, but I've only been there for Essen. I wouldn't mind going there for a proper visit at some point.
Let me try to push on quickly. Are you comfortable with a grumpy image? That's the last question of the day from me.
I would say I mean, come on, how many times have I smiled this entire stream? The grumpy image
I
is more
just...
just...
I ask everybody in chats, okay? People in chats, what's your image of Luke? Is it grumpy, not grumpy, or uncertain? Let me know. Kind of tell us what you think. Grumpy, ungrumpy, or uncertain? Okay. So, because you can say I'm not grumpy. I'm not saying you are a grumpy person. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying you have a grumpy image.
Do you know how much he was saying? That Bez was saying this beforehand. You know, she was basically like constantly saying, "It's like I don't mean you're grumpy. I don't mean you're grumpy," or something. It's like I get it, Bez. All right. Uncertain. What's that supposed to be? But only been here 20 minutes. But Luke seems totally never smiles. I've been smiling most of the stream. What are you on about? A fun level of I'll take that. Fun level of grumpy. That's not grumpy. I mean, the image is more a case of there you go. But it's just more of a case of because I speak my mind about.
Rob is such a troll, by the way. Just to let you know. I'm
getting that image, but 40% grump. I'd like to think more 70-30, but 70 fun, 30 grumpy. But As like I say, I speak my mind when I do critique, and like I say, that's me being a critic of stuff. And yeah, I suppose I can be quite opinionated, so that comes across in it. But in general, if I go out for a like cinema visit or a meal out, or if I'm playing board games with people at my game club or something, I'm like happy as can be or something. I'm not grumpy. I think it's just because I'm more of a harsh critic as opposed to, being grumpy. But I mean, that image has come, and that image is half of the channel in a sense. Some people have commented, that a lot of the reasons they watch the content is because they know I'm not going to hold back, and they kind of like the rants every now and again. Well,
and your own says that you're quite serious, because I guess that's the thing. Like, you're trying to impart specific information, and there is some sort of stakes. Like, look, if you get it wrong, then someone's going to buy a game that they're unhappy with. It's not a big stakes. It's not like anyone's going to die. You're not being a doctor as a hobby. That's not what's happening. You're just recommending some board games. But if you get it wrong, someone's going to buy something and just be a bit sad.
Yeah, I mean, when you're doing a review, you've got to have that little bit of professionalism with it to an extent. I mean, I like to think that with particularly my Blitz ones, that it's a bit more freeform. Maybe the detail reviews are a bit more professional, but then those ones are trying to be a bit more. Although if you watch the Whistle Mountain one I did, you see me going off on a complete buzz. But then I put in like the movie clips and that for a bit of humor and try to keep it fun and fresh. But then it's why I'm enjoying doing a lot more of the live streams now, particularly the collabs, because that's the time when I don't have to care about professionalism. It's like I'm just going to talk as I talk, and that works. And maybe you could argue that if you speak to me outside at a convention as opposed to on a review video, there is maybe a slight change. But then, as Bez says, you've got to have that you've got to get that information out somehow, and that does require a little bit of a sort of reel it back a little bit, just like a little bit of self-control.
Yeah, and when you're trying to look, I'm not going to say that I didn't have information in my City video that literally no one's ever said on the internet before, because I do believe I did. I do believe that if you genuinely want to hear about my City, I have the most thorough, in-depth video of my City. How many people actually want for an in-depth review of my City? I don't know, probably not that many people. I would rather have a 10-minute, 15 minutes overview myself, something that says, okay, this is broadly what it's like. There is definitely some sort of happy balance, but I ramble on. If there's a bit of a tangent, I allow myself to go for it. I do enjoy having this back and forth with the audience where, someone from Cosmos pops in and gives a counterpoint while I'm streaming, and sometimes I ignore them because I'm like, yeah, you're the company person, you've got to say that. And sometimes I'm like, yeah, you know what, that is actually a fair point. And when someone from Cosmos says that apparently they've changed the gender or because it's got the third person singular he, which is a lot of Germanic rule books, let's be honest, it translated, and the player looks at his board and he chooses this, and it's like, really, are we still doing this? And I complain about it, and they said, oh, we've changed it for our... Well, I'll flag that up. I'll say, well, apparently that was changed, but in the version that I've got, and all I can review is what's in front of me. You can see right here in this picture that I'm showing you. That's... Anyway. But there's an ability for me to just get it out there, and a kind of freeform nature. There's a bit of joy to it, and it's there's a sloppiness to it.
Yeah, that was the problem, because originally I never scripted a thing. Like, everything was freeform. I already knew my thoughts in my head. I just went with it. And that's why my videos ended up being 20 minutes plus long, because I'd ramble on tangents. Like, I'd get on a topic and then don't know when to stop talking about it. And then that got when I was sort of getting feedback, it's like, yeah, I like this content, but this is why, I tune out or suffer a bit. So particularly with the detail ones, I had to sort of say, all right, okay, let's bullet point what I need to say. How much do I need to say? Just the quick bullet points. And then by sticking to that, yes, it may come off as slightly more serious and a little less free form, but at least it's then condensed and people have liked that. But then there's still the live streams where I can just go mad. And I have done that. These collabs I've done, some people will do a collab with someone and 30-minute stream or an hour, and they've done like 2 top 10 lists. And I'm like, Well, A, that just seems way too short a time to do 20 game discussion, but then that's in my mind. It's probably not true. But then my streams start going to 2 hours long because we're not just talking about the games, we're interacting with the chat, we're discussing other stuff with each other, we're going off on tangents. But then at first I'm like, oh, these are really long, nobody's going to watch these, but people are watching them still. And now I'm like, okay, I don't care, fine, the stream's 2 hours long, deal with it, you know. Listen to it in bits or just listen to 30 minutes of it. As long as you're enjoying it, that's fine. I get to sit for 2 hours and talk with someone about a passionate hobby for that without caring so much about how long it is, unless they need to be somewhere. That's a different thing.
And I think that, yeah, absolutely, you need to script things if you want to.
Well, I mean, I don't script. I never scripted a thing before.
But you have the bullet points. Like, it's not a script as such, but it's a vague script that it's like a guideline. Not like it's word for word, but it's a script in as much as you're saying, okay, I'm going to talk about this, then that, then that, then that. Let's be honest, if I wanted to make a better review for people who are watching after the fact, I probably wouldn't live stream them on Sundays. The fact that people are coming in and chatting is actually probably making it a worse video for someone who watches after the fact. And being here, like, it is very much a selfish act. I'm not going to lie. Me streaming is very much a selfish act. Me streaming is about me saying right now, these days, I want to be with people. This is not being with people. This is not me being social, but this is kind of
stepping stone.
As much as I can have right now.
Well, yeah, it's the same with I mean, I use like Board Game Arena and Tabletop Simulator to get games played, but cool, blimey, I would much rather be in person playing a game. Yes, Bez doesn't like you, but I do. So tune in next week where I'll be the next host of this show, as Bez will be taking a small break.
Oh, you are such trolls. Okay.
Isn't that what
no one chats chat is? Ever, or as long as you can manage. Okay, that's as long as I could manage. Luke likes us. Oh my gosh.
Give me a reason why I wouldn't.
Well, apparently, this terrible chat upline. Let's compare Board Game Geek List to see if our collections completes one another.
I don't think that was a chat up line specific. I think that is like that whole, like the last 5 minutes, the chat has devolved into two people semi-flirting with each other with board games as a topic.
No, I think it's still I wish more trying to flirt with you.
I mean, to be fair, I wish more girls flirted with me on the topic of board games, to be perfectly frank. They don't flirt with me for any other reason. I'll take board games.
So, yes, the question, you're comfortable with your image. You like being okay. And what's coming up in the future?
Are you? It's a persona. That's all it is.
Are you going to keep making this? Why do you keep doing this? And let me share your links in Twitter. So Twitch, well, last time, if it's on YouTube, it's already up there. And if it's on Facebook, it'll be there as a permanent thing.
Harper Robs. Luke's lovely, loquacious. Anybody got another L? This is totally not descriptive of me, but luscious is another descriptive L word. Trying to think of other ones beginning with L, but
lovely, loquacious, listenings?
Luscious.
No.
Listenings? Oh, is this the title for something? All right. Who
like,
knows?
Like instead of busy beats and board game blathering, it's like just rebranding the show with all the
Luke's lovely, loquacious lamenting. I don't know, is lamenting?
Oh, that would be good. Lamentings. Oh man, that's a good word.
Yeah. Oh, where were we? So
Xates is definitely not flirting with your own. Any flirting should be interpreted in another way.
But this is the thing I mentioned before. I don't interpret body language well, so you can't flirt with me through body language, and even text will be difficult to say. You've just got to tell me to my face, do you like me or not? Because that's the only way I'll get the point.
Okay, so basically what you're saying is that if someone wanted to flirt with you, they should get in on Instagram or Twitter and send a message to you. Our DM's open.
They are open, but it wasn't an invite.
So your Twitter DMs are actually open to people that you're not following.
Yeah, they are. They are open.
Okay, because you need to change that thing. Okay, so there you go. There you go. That's all the links.
You can say accept or block though before it comes through, so I still get to monitor stuff coming in.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I mean, with back to the question, what they keep doing. I mean, I must admit, I've heard Burnout a few times where I'm kind of like, "God, this takes a lot of effort. Still not like particularly popular, or like the views aren't sort of justifying the hours put into it, but I still like talking about it. It's still passionate." And then I find some new series to do, like the Shelf by Shelf was a good one that kept me occupied.
Robert.
Cheers, Rob. But and the collaborations are now kind of like a recent one, because I was hitting burnout a bit like end of last year, and I'm like, do I really need to keep this up? And then the collabs were a thing of, oh yeah, now this is a reason to keep doing it, even if the views aren't particularly high. It's fun to do and it's worthwhile, but I want to keep doing it. I just obviously want that time to be justified, because otherwise I'm going to get to 40 and think, what on earth have I done with my life other than blog on YouTube?
I mean, I feel like this has been a thing that I've been considering. Let me actually think of the date. I think it was 2018, I'm going to say, when I lost my previous laptop. So it was stolen from me. It was a really bad day. I'm not going to get into everything that happened that day, but then the next day I was meant to be going over to Munich. And someone said, and I was thinking, okay, do I still go? Because it's been suggested I should probably go to the police station and report this theft. But if I report that my laptop's been lost, what's the chance of me actually getting back? Let's say it's 0.1%. Now, is it worth me giving up this holiday and staying in London, or is it worth me just saying, okay, I'm going to go there where at least I get to see someone, I get to hang out, we get to see the city. And then from Munich, I saw this amazing person that I just met a couple of months ago at Essen, and then I went over to see my sister, and then we had a nice, lovely Christmas together. It was good times, and I tasted all sorts of weird ice cream. It was literally, I want to say, Stilton and beer ice cream. So it was ice cream made with German beer and ice cream made with cheese. It was quite strange, but it was good stuff. Anyway, had all the food, and yeah, they also had a place where you could like have all the dips. Like there were crazy dips. Oh man, I really missed those dips. Those were good dips. Anyway, so go to the Christmas markets in Munich. That's what I'm saying. But anyway, while I was there, my laptop had just been stolen. I'd lost a lot of rule books, a lot of stuff that I'd written, and a lot of videos that I'd made for my publishing. I was thinking, what do I want to do? Do I still want to do this? Do I even want to work in board games? Because I'm privileged enough now that I think that was just when Yogi had been out for a year and a half, and I realized, hey, I could actually go to Thailand or go to Nigeria and not worry about money, because it's a very cheap country and I'm getting enough in royalties that if I go there, I'd probably be sorted. It would mean that I can't come back to the UK if I'm not trying to earn more money, if you know what I mean. But I could just take an extended holiday, essentially of decades, if I wanted, just kind of live out the rest of my life there. I could do that. And then I was thinking, and it's been a constant thing of my head, and it was just in the middle of 2020 that I finally, like back then I realized, okay, I do enjoy making games, I'm going to come back to it. But it was middle of 2020 when I realized, okay, what is the most important thing? And the most important thing that I felt is connections between people. Like I keep saying, we might be just us, like when all is said and done, we're nothing, we're infinitesimal in the scope of the cosmos and everything. But, the other people, the relationships we have, that's what matters to me, at least. It might not be what matters to everyone, but to me, at least, that is what gives my life meaning, building those social connections. And for me, yes, I know that parasocial relationship where in theory one person cares a bit more about the other, but something about everyone in chat, like half of the people I've actually met you at a convention, at a playtesting event. If I've not met you, we've had like a lot of the people who pop in, like some people just pop in and then go out. Some of the people I end up working with or doing designs with and doing all sorts of things with. And that's what I really want my Twitch to be, a place of building up those strong connections. And also with the guests, yes, I demonstrated Hand Build L, which was really cool to see you enjoyed that. And then we played that, trolley game. I can't remember what it's called, the trolley problem game. Trial by Trolley.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, got
Trial
that
by
shelf.
Trolley.
Yeah.
But we such a troll. I said I met half of you. I'm talking about you, D Crowd. Anyway, the point is that we hadn't sat down for an hour or even 2 hours to just talk about everything. And that brings me to the recap. And so, we've talked about so much today. We've talked about games we've recently played, Draftosaurus, Martian Dice, Whistle Mountain. We talked about
Rawhide.
Cooperation. What?
Rawhide. In fact, actually, just going to try it. Can I share as a thing?
Yes, you can.
Yeah. I get, this is really quick, but I mentioned earlier the game Rawhide that I was doing with my dad, and I expect most people were really confused by that. But it didn't come in this box. It came I think he's lost the box, and we just had the board of that. But this was what it was. It literally is that board, a roll and move track game. You went on trails if something bad happened. You had these little plastic cows, but the value of each cow went up and down during the game. You sold them at the end, you had the most money. But it's I never watched the show or anything, but this is still in my dad's cupboard. This board is still intact, even if it's a little worn. And these bad quality plastic steer standees or whatever are still there. This is literally what the game is. Paper money. It's as old as all get out. I think it's I like what Will Cookford just said. I would play this any day over Great Western Trail. Rawhide is what Great Western Trail wishes it could be.
Wow.
But I sort of came across it, so I just wanted to sort of put that in. But
that's it. Actually, I'm quite impressed with the Wii economic markets. It looks like there might be some good design for the time going on there.
It's not much of an economic market. It literally is the case that during the game you pick up different color steeds and they could belong to other players and that. But then literally when you get to the end, you draw a card from a deck or something, and it sort of determines what value it is. So it is just luck of the draw economics. It's not actual choice.
Fair enough.
As I said, it's an old roll and move game, basically.
We talked about cooperation and parents maybe not enjoying cooperation so much. A wee bit about Wingspan, about 10 out of 10, what that actually means, about UK Games Expo and Essen and Aircon, just conventions that Luke loves, about hating games and loving games and, just strong emotions, about wanting to be a musician, about playing the keyboard and maybe falling out of it after sixth form, about reviews versus previews, how some people say, this is the hidden meaning of what a preview means, about sub 1 minute thing, and people saying, it could do a 5 second thing. Honestly, that would be hilarious if you actually bothered to do a whole load of 5 second things. I would watch 100 of them.
Maybe April Fool's Day, but we'll see.
It sounds like a lot of effort to go to for an April Fool's joke, but I would love you to do that. We talked about doing well at maths, about bullying, about CCGs, about dating, about whether we would or wouldn't go to UK Games Expo, and about
neurodiversity, apparently. I've learned a new word. And thalassomophobia or whatever it was. I learned 2 new words today.
And so, that is everything that we've been chatting about. If you have enjoyed this show, then check me out on stuffbabez.com, even though everyone knows all these links, but stuffbabez.bigcards.com, twitter.com/stuffbabez, instagram.com/stuffbabez for the pictures and stuff. And by the way, I should have said to everyone, it is now Aidan O'Rose, twitch.tv/stuffbabez. I'm streaming for the next 82 days at 10 a.m. UK time, youtube.com/StuffBez for the old episodes and StuffBez.com/Discord if you want to share pictures of cats, chats about food or general stuff. And for those who are, I'm going to say thank you to everyone, especially Luke, obviously, and also everyone in chat for being generally lovely. And where's
only generally?
Yeah.
Give more praise than that.
I mean, I guess maybe, you know what? Maybe I am really the negative one. I try to be...
Who's the grumpy image now?
I try to couch everything in some... I am just really reluctant. Yeah, we should have Luke back. He is okay.
That's better than most people refer to me. I'll take okay. I'll take that as an improvement. Work towards good.
Check out all of... What's your favourite place to be found? I mean, Broken Meeple basically literally everywhere.
So YouTube's the best place. That's where my content is. It's where all the live streams are. Everything's on YouTube, but you can get hold of me on those other three. I'm trying to boost up my Instagram channel, so I suppose if you are on Instagram, please follow me on Instagram, because I'm really trying to boost that forward, because I'm trying to wane myself a little bit from Twitter and Facebook just because of what those platforms are kind of like, whereas I find Instagram's just a very nice community full of like nice pictures and nice people. So I really want the Instagram channel to boost, so maybe like check out YouTube and Instagram in priority. That would be fantastic.
And my final bit is to say, it's over to you. What are you up to? You can share anything if you want to. So, is there anything that you're excited to do, or conversely, is there something that you're dreading to do, but you want to tell us so that then it becomes a responsibility and then maybe you've got that external motivation? Is there something exciting, or is there something boring or serious or fun? Let us know. Look, what are you up to?
I've got that collaboration tomorrow, the Side Games top 10 list. That's going to be fun tomorrow evening, so that will be a good laugh. After some lunch in a minute, though, first thing I want to do is get out, I think, the Lord of the Rings Journey to Middle-earth game, because before that top 10, I need to play through I need to finish off a couple of campaigns for it, and one of them is that Lord of the Rings one, and I know today it's like, right, got some spare time, schedule for videos already done, no chores, I'm just going to get the table, lay it out, and play through a ton of that, so that's going to be fun. And I've also still got to watch Falcon and Winter Soldier later, so that's going to be good as well.
I have no idea what that is. Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Marvel, it's a Marvel show on Disney+. I'm a big superheroes fan, so Marvel and DC.
Cool.
I spent 4 hours on Thursday watching the Justice League Snyder Cut. It was like, that was a long evening. I like my superheroes.
Saint says that she is probably more broken than you. This was a question I didn't ask it, but why the Broken Meeple? Can you answer this in 30 seconds?
It's really boring. I tried to come up with a name for the blog. I had a copy of Spirium in front of me. I was playing it with friends at a club, and I opened the box, took out a black meeple, and it had a broken leg. And it just literally came to me. So it's like, oh, it's a broken meeple. Ding, light bulb. Because all the good names were taken, unfortunately.
Sates is playing the crew with the Love Meeples and Cabbage King AF later over Discord and Board Game Arena.
I like that name. Cabbage King.
Yeah. So, yep, and yep, I am not disputing that Board Game Arena is great, but it's going to get a bit annoying if someone were to be a community manager for Board Game Arena and able to say it later on. This is going to get a bit much. Please don't share it. Anyway, to be fair, it's amusing. As long as you're okay with me skimming over the content sometimes. Comment sometimes. Anyway, so I am going to be doing some special Aiden Orose stuff. For those who don't know, Iranian New Year was at 9:37 this morning. It's always at a weird time because it's trying to be exactly 1 year. It's not like there's, okay, let's round it up or down to the nearest day. It's let's try and be an exact year. So it's always a slightly different time of day. And today it was at a fairly convenient time. And then you have a big mirror and my mum wanted to do the customary, okay, here's some rose water in your hands, and you've got to wash your face, and you've got to check yourself out in the mirror, and then you've got to have like one tiny bit of sweet stuff, which I did break my no sugar thing for the month. Like I'm doing it no sugar unless there's like a really good reason. So I had like the smallest bits, and I'm not going to like have loads of sugar just because I had that one thing today. Do you know what I mean? But you take that, you've got to say, yes, thank you for making my life sweet, and I hope that your life is also sweet. And there's like a coin to symbolize prosperity, candles to symbolize longevity. There's a pomegranate to symbolize, get lots of things because it's fertility and all sorts of things. But yeah, we are probably going to have lunch together because it's a time of togetherness. And so this is very much traditionally, this isn't going to happen. And so it's actually going to be quite devastating to lots of people. But normally it would be, okay, everyone has a meal together, then everyone has all their friends round. And this would be when everyone has all the friends round. And, that's the world we live in where we can't necessarily do that, but we have the video conferencing and whatnot. That is what I am up to generally today. Taking it easy, enjoying that, maybe doing a wee bit of reading, maybe doing a wee bit of writing, but definitely having a lunch with my family. And so with that is the end. If you want to check out my future streams, then tomorrow I am basically going over a game that I made myself called Placeable. It's the simplest solitaire game for the L deck. On Monday, I'm meeting Brian Slattery, who has the possibly world's biggest privately owned board game cafe, which is inside an office, which is kind of crazy. Tuesday, some in-depth design discussion, and then playing a thing in the evening. Wednesday, some in-depth discussion with a few folk about game books. Thursday, meeting Oliver Kinna from the board game blog. Friday, Friendly Friday Forum. Next Saturday, Dutch Yoda is going to be back. And so if any of those sound interesting, or if you think that more people should see this less serious, less talking about board games side of Luke Hector, then share that thing. Say, hey, look actually does smile sometimes. Look, isn't such a grumpy pain in the posterior.
I feel like choose your words carefully.
I was just I wasn't worrying about offending you because I assumed that you understood.
You were worried about Twitch shutting you down, were you?
No, I was just worried about trying to keep it relatively family friendly. And so, breaking news.
Yeah, breaking news what?
That you're not a grumpy person.
Well, that's the breaking news. I mean, it should be like common knowledge. Hopefully it will be now.
It really should be. So tell everyone if you think that, you know what, Luke isn't that grumpy. I mean, Luke definitely has a grumpy side, but
I'm just a harsh critic.
We all need to have a grumpy side. We all need to embrace a bit of grump. We need to be a fun grump. I really like that way to put it.
She's talking about cookies.
Oh, wait. The package Ken sent from the SA, with Christmas cookies, just arrived. Wow, that is quite amazing.
Well, international post has been delayed like crazy lately, so I wouldn't be surprised if it took 2 months to get your Christmas cookies.
Yeah,
I'm now really hungry now. Actually, now we're talking about cookies.
I am going to quickly move over to Twitch to just check who I should be raiding. I doubt that there is anyone board game related at this point. No, there is not. I am going to raid Richard Thornton, who is a musician and does some sorts of comedy songs. So if that sounds good, then stick around for that raid and feel free to copy paste some or all of that message. And that is the last thing to say, unless you have any final words.
I'm good, thanks. Set. Final words. I'm hungry.
Well, that is the end. So for now, everyone, bye.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye. Thank you for watching along. Bye. This is the end of the show. Bye. And now it's time to go. Bye. bye, bye, bye. This is a goodbye song. Bye, 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 bye. Thank you for watching along. Bye, 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 bye. This is the end of the show. And bye, 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 bye.
Bye-bye.
Now.
Looking along.
Oh, it's time to go. Bye bye bye. Bye bye. Bye bye. Bye. And that's the end. Bye bye.
Oh.
That's the end.